The faces of the two 10,000 Flowers sect disciples besides slightly changed, and they quickly tugged at Yunzai's sleeve. One of them smiled apologetically at Lu Yi. Taoist Lu, please don't take offense. My senior sister is just purely curious, no other intentions. After all, asking questions about a cultivator's cultivation treasures was somewhat sensitive. Lu Yi smiled indifferently. No worries, I picked this up from an ancient battlefield when I first came here. I'm lucky, it should be an artifact. Hiss. Upon hearing this, the eyes of many cultivators turned somewhat green with envy. It's an artifact. An artifact, that's something even nascent soul cultivators might not possess. Many cultivators were astonished. Yunzai looked at Lu Yi enviously. Taoist Lu Yi, you're really lucky. I've only gathered a few heavenly materials and earthly treasures, which still fall short compared to your findings. The 10,000 Flowers sect disciples couldn't help but cover their faces. Lu Yi also cast a peculiar glance at Yunzai. Her openness about her possessions was quite unexpected. It was just that Lu Yi had brought out the profound sun sword for use. He needed a reason, otherwise he wouldn't have mentioned it. And you couldn't help but exclaim, Taoist Lu Yi is indeed a person with great fortune. In between her words she too was full of envy. Lu Yi modestly smiled. No, I am a person with the golden finger. Honestly, considering the rewards given by the task panel, even a person with great fortune probably couldn't compare. The task gave too much, stay connected through empire. The group, worried about being discovered by the demon clan, moved very quickly and soon escaped to a great distance, continuing deeper into the barren mountain range. It was only after a long time had passed, and they had completely left the battle area behind that they all let out a sigh of relief. Carefully, they continued moving toward the escape land. Soon, they arrived near the location of the escape land on a mountain. The escape land was situated in the depths of the barren mountain, a large valley filled with green stones forming a plaza. Around the plaza stood numerous stone pillars, each engraved with complex and mysterious runes. Lu Yi and the others were worried about an ambush by the demon clan and didn't go directly. Lu Yi, Han Yu, and Yunzai each explored different directions to ensure no demons were present. Only then did the group dare to proceed. Arriving at the escape land, Lu Yi scrutinized the mysterious runes on the stone pillars, feeling somewhat shaken. These were array patterns, and quite complex ones too. Having cultivated in basic array, he had some understanding of array patterns, but even he couldn't discern the function of these runes. They seemed incredibly profound and inscrutable. If Lu Yi focused intently on observing and comprehending, he even felt a bit dizzy from the complexity. After all, they were too mysterious, beyond what his current level could interact with. Lu Yi felt puzzled, uncertain why these stone pillars were here, and what the purpose of this escape land was originally. He tapped the stone pillar, which was still as hard as iron. To know, these were relics left from the great wars between the human clan and demon clan in the ancient era. It was incredible that they had not suffered any damage, showing just how hard the stone pillars were. Lu Yi memorized all these runes, planning to revisit this formation once his cultivation in array patterns reached a higher level to understand their purpose. After arriving at the escape land, the group relaxed slightly. If we just wait here for 3 days, we can get out, someone exclaimed excitedly. It's a pity the East Forest ruins are full of opportunities, and we had to encounter such incidents, leaving almost no time to seek fortunes, Yu Jing said with a bitter face. The others also fell silent, their expressions grim. Sigh, for this opportunity, I suppressed my cultivation base, which I've been holding back for 3 years, a disciple from the cold winter valley said dejectedly. This accursed place, had I known about such a mutation, I definitely wouldn't have come, a cultivator complained indignantly. At this moment, someone's eyes lit up and they suggested, since we still have 3 days, why don't we look around nearby to see if we can find any opportunities? At this, many were tempted. Just then Lu Yi spoke, Blood Slaughter Illusion Realm, can you escape it? This. Everyone's faces turned bitter. If not for Lu Yi waking them up each time in the Blood Slaughter Illusion Realm, they would have long been trapped and perished within it. Han Yu looked at Lu Yi and spoke, Taoist Lu, with 3 days left, what do you think we should do? Stay here. Lu Yi hesitated for a moment, then said, though the fierce beasts in the red mist are no longer aggressive, the demon clan is still around. If they discover us, it would be dangerous. We'd better find a place to hide and quietly wait for the strong ones from outside to guide us." Hearing this, everyone exchanged looks, feeling it made sense. Subsequently, the group left the escape land, as it was too conspicuous. They found a cave nearby to settle down quietly, waiting for time to pass. When the second day arrived, there were again disturbances deep within the ruins. The thumping sound resumed. Like a powerful heart beating, demonic energy soared to the sky, as if some supreme demon emperor had awakened from slumber. According to what Lu Yi had learned from the three great demons, this disturbance was likely the nine-tailed fox clan's successor, receiving the heritage of the ancient nine-tailed demon emperor. Given the immense disturbance, one could imagine how terrifying the power of the demon emperor's successor would be after receiving the heritage. Lu Yi stealthily observed from the sky, and in the core area of the red mist, there were shadows fluttering like the tails of a nine-tailed demon fox. The exotic beasts within the ruins stirred again, and while Lu Yi and his group guarded the cave, it was not as dangerous as before. Only Lu Yi had to kill a few beasts that strayed into their hiding place. The disturbance continued into the next day, which, for Lu Yi and the others, was the day the ruins' exit would open, and only then did it completely calm down. Time continued to pass, and Lu Yi and his companions watched the escape land intently, not daring to blink, afraid they might miss the exit. Just then, there was a spatial fluctuation in the central area of the escape land. Everyone revealed smiles. "It's time. The Supreme Elders are starting to guide us. We can leave now." The group left their hiding place and flew towards the area with the spatial fluctuations. However, just then a light laugh sounded. "Finally found you." Chapter 140-93, Wedding Night, bonus chapter for 400 monthly tickets. Hearing this voice, everyone's expression subtly changed as they looked toward the direction from which the voice came. On the cliff stood four figures. The person in the lead was shrouded in auroral light. Through the light, one could vaguely see a graceful and delicate body with arms white as jade, but her face remained unclear. Among the three people beside this woman, there were two stunningly beautiful women and a handsome young man. Explore hidden tales at Empire. The aura of these three was extremely powerful and profound, even stronger than the three great demons Lu Yi had killed before. The central figure enveloped in the auroral light was even more terrifying. Her presence was deep and unfathomable like an abyss, and even Lu Yi felt somewhat outmatched. Golden Core, they were all of Golden Core realm. Lu Yi felt puzzled. Why could the members of the demon clan in the Golden Core realm enter this ancient relic? What secret techniques did they possess? However, now was not the time to be perplexed. These four members of the demon clan were clearly no ordinary beings. Especially that graceful figure in the center, Lu Yi still remembered. In the blood slaughter illusion realm, the leader of the demons was the woman shrouded in auroral light. Nine-tailed Demon Emperor. This member of the demon clan might well be the successor of the nine-tailed demon fox clan, the descendant of the demon emperor. Had she already obtained the nine-tailed demon emperor's heritage and come searching? The other cultivators' expressions changed upon seeing the demoness, her glow too conspicuous, and everyone had their guesses. Han Yu's face was cold as she transmitted her voice. "Taoist Lu, the situation is not good. This demoness may be the successor of the nine-tailed demon clan." Yunzai also transmitted her voice. "Lu Yi, what should we do?" Jiang Fan, Lin Xianxia, and others also sent messages one after another, asking Lu Yi for a plan. Lu Yi glanced at the slowly emerging pitch-black exit not far away, calculating the timing in his mind. He then conveyed a message to the others, telling them to wait. Gazing towards the figure cloaked in auroral light, he chuckled. "Who might you be?" A pair of bright and expressive eyes from within the auroral light looked towards Lu Yi. The eyes, clearly defined in black and white, naturally carried a hint of enchantment. Through just this pair of eyes, everyone could imagine the allure of the figure shrouded in the light. She spoke softly, her voice laced with a strange Tao Yun that caused an irresistible enthrallment. "You Kue and the other two, you killed them, didn't you? I can sense the potent power hidden within you." Within her enchanting eyes was a touch of surprise. It's hard to imagine that the human clan has such an outstanding talent like you. Having just accepted the inheritance, she was in a realm merging with the Tao and keenly sensed the terrifying power within Lu Yi's body, which was completely incongruent with his cultivation base. Lu Yi smiled. "Those three great demons, indeed I killed them. What do you want to do about it?" "Of course kill you. the handsome young man sneered. His body flickered with strands of golden light, exuding an extremely sharp aura that seemed to penetrate everything. As he moved to step forward, the figure surrounded by the auroral light gestured with her hand, and the young man immediately halted his step, respectfully retreating. The figure in the light sized up Lu Yi and chuckled. "It would be a pity for a genius like you to die here. Why not follow me and join the demon clan instead?" Lu Yi's lips twitched slightly. The relationship between the human clan and the demon clan was already strained, with conflicts arising from time to time. As a member of the human clan, how could he defect to the demon clan? That would be nothing short of treachery. Lu Yi laughed. "I am flattered by your offer, but I feel it's better to stay with the human clan." The woman within the light laughed lightly. "It doesn't matter. Once I capture you and bring you back to my nine-tailed clan, you will eventually change your mind." Upon hearing this, Lu Yi's scalp tingled, and he instantly turned into a bolt of thunder light, disappearing from the spot and reappearing high in the sky. Where Lu Yi once stood, streaks of auroral light had emerged, ensnaring the space within. Had Lu Yi not moved, he would have been caught. Seeing Lu Yi's remarkable speed, the two women beside the Demon Emperor's successor widened their eyes slightly, their surprise evident. This, a Foundation establishment cultivator, to have such incredible speed. No wonder the young master wants to recruit him. The handsome young man's gaze flickered with surprise, and with a cold huff, he still regarded Lu Yi with an icy look. The Demon Emperor's successor chuckled seductively, as if her laugh were a feather tickling the depths of Lu Yi's heart. "Little brother, why hide? Do you think my nine-tailed fox clan would mistreat you?" Lu Yi chuckled lightly. "The nine-tailed fox clan is certainly extraordinary, but I do not wish to leave the human clan." "Heh, it's not up to you," said the auroral figure. She moved as if teleporting to Lu Yi's side, stretching a snowy jade hand toward his shoulder. Feeling his scalp prickle, Lu Yi instantly turned into thunder light and disappeared, darting away at an even faster pace than before. Even the Demon Emperor's successor was surprised. "Seems I somewhat underestimated you." Her gaze swept over, landing on Xianxia and the others below, and with a light laugh said, the three of you guard the exit, don't let them leave. I'll pursue him." "Yes, young master," one of the beautiful women said with a smile and nod. The Demon Emperor's successor instantly vanished from the spot. The three remaining demons gazed down at Xianxia and the others, their expressions calm. But the expressions of people like Jiang Fan were anything but calm. "Junior brother Lu." Jiang Fan looked worriedly in the direction Lu Yi had fled. "What do we do? What can we do?" A cultivator from Cold Winter Valley turned pale, warily watching the three demons. Looking towards the direction Lu Yi had left, Han Yu transmitted, "Lu Yi has told us to wait, so we wait. He must have a backup plan." Chapter 140-193. The Wedding Night Extra for 400 monthly tickets too. "But that's the Demon Emperor's successor, Lu Yi. You probably can't even save yourself, let alone us." The cultivators' faces were ashen as they faced the three great demons watching them, a sense of despair settling in. Off to the side, Yunzai sent a message with her spiritual sense. "Quiet. I believe in Lu Yi. I have a feeling he will be fine." That demoness said she wants to take Lu Yi back to the demon clan, surely because she values his talent. "He will definitely be fine, but we are useless to those fiends. We are the ones in trouble." The many cultivators had a bitter look on their faces. Meanwhile, in the distance, Lu Yi's body transformed into a streak of thunder light, like a purple ray piercing through the red fog, running towards the distance with incredible speed. Having left the crowd behind, Lu Yi no longer concealed himself and directly used the Limit Realm's Thunder Shadow Step. In fact, Lu Yi could no longer hide his movement. The demoness was too fast, and even now she was able to keep up with his pace. Behind him, the melodious voice of the Demon Emperor's successor carried a hint of surprise. "I underestimated you. I didn't expect your speed to have reached such a realm. Even an average Golden Core Peak cultivator might not be able to catch up with you." Lu Yi looked back at the pursuing halo of light and said, "Friend, you're also a Golden Core cultivator. Why don't you back off a bit? Stop chasing me." "Heh, tilde too bad. I'm not an average Golden Core cultivator." While speaking, that halo of light suddenly burst forth with a dazzling brilliance. The demoness reached out with her fair hand towards the void, grabbing at Lu Yi, and the next moment it felt as if the space around Lu Yi was constrained, causing his speed to sharply decrease. A fierce look flashed across Lu Yi's eyes, and the profound sun sword appeared in his hand. He swung his sword, releasing sword chi that contained both thunder and the immortal sword intent, cutting through the air like the sun itself, aiming for the pursuing light. Boom! A roaring explosion sounded. The air burst apart, space twisted, and the horrific force, like that of a furnace, vaporized the mountains below without a trace. After breaking free from the spatial constraints, misty ice vapor appeared under Luya's feet, and his speed surged. The ice silk boots, a low-grade treasure activated to its full potential, were capable of significantly increasing Luya's speed. Sword intent and thunder intent realm, both at 50%. Little brother, it seems your talent is even greater than I imagined. I must have you, came the Demon Emperor's successor's voice from behind, tinged with surprise. Lu Yi, with a face full of black lines, turned to look back, only to find that even with his increased speed, the demoness was still right behind him, though her aura had increased by much. Enjoy new tales from Empire. He shouted, "Friend, there's no future between humans and demons. Better give up. Even if you have my person, you can't have my heart. I prefer my human cultivators more." There was a moment of silence from behind, then the coy laugh followed. He, with your talent, hardly anyone in all of Tiananmen can compare. You're just like me at the very top. If you join my nine-tailed fox clan, maybe I really will marry you. Really? But I am the last of the Lu family. I can't join another family. How about you marry into my family instead? Heh, that's not impossible. Why don't you stop and we'll discuss our marriage? The demoness's voice came from behind. Lu Yi, with a face full of black lines, thought, this fox spirit trusts her to be lying. If he stopped, he would definitely be caught by the fox spirit. He laughed aloud and said, no need to discuss. How about today we have our wedding night right away? The figure within the halo of light behind him paused before replying. Tilde, all right then, why don't you stop and we'll consummate our marriage now? The figure in the light seemed to use a peculiar divine skill. Her voice carried a charming allure that caused even Lu Yi to become slightly entranced, slipping into an illusion realm. In the illusion realm, a black-haired beauty with a combination of charming and innocent features smiled slyly at him. Her slender figure was complemented by a sexy long dress, her eyes shy, as if waiting for him to approach. Just then, the seven-colored spiritual energy vortex inside Lu Yi's dantian trembled, pulling him out of the illusion realm. He felt a chill as he realized the presence behind him had gotten much closer. Damn it, this fox spirit. Lu Yi's spiritual energy circulated wildly. His speed reached the limit, narrowly avoiding being caught. Friend, this kind of sneak attack is not the act of an honest man. Tilde, I'm a woman, not an honest man. Besides, I'm not called friend. You can call me Kinkyu Hua. Little brother, what's your name? So it's Taoist Kinkyu. My name is Bai Yulong, Lu Yi replied. Kinkyu Hua fell silent for a moment, before speaking in a soft voice. Just now, little brother, you mentioned you're from the Lu family, didn't you? Lu Yi was startled, having not noticed what he said earlier. He then said, all right, actually my name is Lu Yulong. Kinkyu Hua was silent once more, then slowly said, Lu family's little brother, if you don't stop now, I might get angry. You wouldn't want to see me angry, would you? Lu Yi felt the surging halo of light behind him, with a wild aura emerging, yet it seemed somewhat unstable. Lu Yi was startled, raising his brows a bit surprised. For a genius like Kinkyu Hua, it should be impossible to lose control of her power. And Lu Yi thought that the fox spirit must have some misgivings. He could sense the terrifying power contained within the fox spirit's body, yet she was barely using any of it at the moment. Could it be because the legacy she obtained was somewhat unstable? Chapter 142, 93. The Wedding Night Extra for 400 monthly tickets 3. So even now, you dare not use your full strength. Lu Yi vaguely had some guesses and chuckled. Taoist Kinkyu, you've just obtained the Demon Emperor's inheritance, so using your power like this isn't too good, right? Upon hearing this, the halo around Kinkyu Hua subtly shook. Lu Yi's heart leapt with joy. He had guessed right. However, the next words from Kinkyu Hua made Lu Yi's expression stiffen slightly. Thanks for the concern, little brother Lu. Although there is some impact, it's worth it for you. No, I don't think I'm worth it. He was speechless. He was just an ordinary cultivator of the human clan. What virtue or ability did he possess that warranted the heir of the nine-tailed demon fox clan, risking the backlash of the demon emperor's inheritance to capture him? Whether it's worth it or not, little brother, you don't get to decide. I do. Just then, Lu Yi estimated the distance and chuckled lightly, saying, "Taoist Kinkyu, perhaps you shouldn't exert yourself. Let's meet again some other time, as I need to go back and find my master and junior sister." During the conversation, Lu Yi took out a talisman, and as the spiritual energy flowed, the talisman transformed into a powerful force, enveloping Lu Yi, and in the next moment he vanished. This was the 1,000-mile talisman given to him by his master when he had just become a registered disciple. It was a talisman from the Space series, very precious and excellent for saving one's life. Lu Yi had never had a chance to use it, and he hadn't expected to use it in such a situation. Seeing Lu Yi disappear, the halo around Kinkyu Hua shook again as she angrily said, "Bastard." She naturally understood that she had been tricked. In the next moment, despite the backlash, Kinkyu Hua unleashed an even more powerful force, transforming into a rainbow light and flew towards the escape land. At that moment at the escape land, the exit had already formed, a dark void similar to the entrance. As the exit appeared, that handsome young man stood in front of it, smirking at Yunzai and the others. The other two fox demonesses were blocking the other sides, completely cutting off their escape route. Seeing the slowly swirling exit, everyone felt a chill in their hearts. If they didn't leave within a certain time, the exit would close, and they would be trapped here, completely unable to get out. What should we do? There's no way. The demon from the Golden Core realm is probably stronger than those 3 great demons we faced earlier. How can we get past? I wonder how Lu Yi is doing. Lu Yi is also in danger himself. Just then the space fluctuated, and Lu Yi appeared abruptly. Seeing Lu Yi, whether it was the 3 great demons or Yunzai and her group, everyone was stunned, and the atmosphere fell silent for a moment. Lu Yi called out in a low voice, "Prepare to go." In his hand, the profound sun sword appeared, emanating a terrifying aura like the blazing sun, entwined with extremely strong sword intent and thunder intent realm. Lu Yi made his move, revealing almost all his cards as he directly slashed towards the handsome young man blocking the exit. Golden red sword light streaked through the air, aiming at the young man whose pupils contracted, revealing a trace of horror in his eyes. He called out in a low voice, and a battle spear engraved with a flood dragon appeared in his hand. He hurled the spear, and it transformed into a cyan flood dragon, roaring as it met the golden sword light. Boom! A roaring sound erupted, followed by the pained cries of the flood dragon as the azure flood dragon dissipated on the spot, reverting into a battle spear, though the spear had dimmed significantly. The young man's face turned pale, and he spat out fresh blood. Lu Yi reached out his hand and immediately took the battle spear. With a step, he transformed into thunder light and rushed towards the handsome young man in an instant. Seeing this, the handsome youth bellowed, unleashing his power and hurriedly dodging. "Go!" Lu Yi looked nervously in the direction of Kinkyu Hua. He could feel an extremely terrifying aura rapidly approaching, one so fearful that even Lu Yi couldn't help but sweat coldly. It seemed the fox spirit was truly angered. Indeed, her angry appearance was somewhat terrifying. Now if they didn't leave, they were truly doomed. Hearing Lu Yi's words, the group of cultivators snapped out of their daze, their faces lighting up with ecstasy. They immediately transformed into beams of sword light, flying towards the exit. "Don't even think about leaving," shouted the handsome youth, who had lost too quickly. It was only then that the 2 fox demons snapped back to reality. "Explore more at Empire." Terrible azure light surged around them, attempting to move forward to block the way. Lu Yi swung his hand back and unleashed several slashes. The sword light infused with 50% sword intent, and the thunder intent realm immediately forced the 2 fox demons back. The cultivators were naturally fast, and soon everyone had rushed into the exit. Lu Yi glanced at the fast-approaching radiance in the distance, breathed a sigh of relief, and laughed loudly. "Taoist Kinkyu, my offer still stands. I welcome you to marry into the Lu family." With that, Lu Yi didn't pause and turned around to flee through the exit. A few breaths after Lu Yi entered the exit, the radiance landed and the ground cracked, forming a huge pit. Kinkyu Hua stood in the center of the pit, her body radiating intense light, showing her inner turmoil. She glanced at the somewhat disheveled 2 fox demons and the seriously injured handsome youth, then stared deeply at the exit, her voice rising slightly with gritted teeth. "Lu family boy, good, very good. Once I completely absorb and digest the inheritance, I will definitely make a personal trip to Kingju and capture you back to my Kinkyu clan territory." Outside the East Forest ruins, Elder Chian and 5 other Divinity Transformation Realm elders of the White Cloud sect were tightly watching the dark space exit, their minds uneasy. Zuluo sneered, turning to look at Elder Chian and said, "I guess your sect's immortal seed won't be coming out." Chian glanced at him. "Perhaps it's your young master who will not come out." "Ha ha ha, Chian, you still do know. Our Heavenly Snake sect and the Blood Spirit sect teamed up and even brought the precious mother and child sound transmission bowl from the Heavenly Snake sect to surround and kill your immortal seed in the East Forest ruins. I don't believe he can survive that," Ma Yue sneered repeatedly. Hearing this, Elder Chian's face slightly changed. Then he spoke coldly. "Lu Yi is not someone your petty clowns can defeat. HMPH, I hope you can still talk so tough later." Dong Yu and Du Qin were on the side, not speaking, looking like they were just there to watch the drama. In the distance, a group of loose cultivators was also eagerly watching the space exit, very curious if the White Cloud sect's immortal seed could return alive from the East Forest ruins. Just at that moment, the space exit fluctuated, and sword light rushed out. Everyone's eyes lit up. "He's out." Chapter 143, 94 Yunzai's Repayment of Kindness. The first to rush out was a disciple of the White Cloud sect, and then, one after another, disciples burst out. There were those from the White Cloud sect, Cold Winter Valley, 10,000 Flowers sect, and also some loose cultivators. However, there were conspicuously no disciples from the Heavenly Snake sect or the Blood Spirit sect. This caused Ma Yue and Zhu Luo to furrow their brows involuntarily. Those disciples who rushed out all wore expressions of relief at having survived a catastrophe, and once they were out, they immediately looked towards the exit. Soon after, Yunzai and Han Yu also made their way out, both looking somewhat pale and also focusing their gaze on the exit. A few breaths later, Lu Yi walked out from the exit. All the disciples present breathed a sigh of relief, then burst into cheers. "Lu Yi has come out." "That's great, thanks to Lu Yi, otherwise we would not have made it." The mountainous cheers puzzled everyone else, leaving them bemused, not understanding what had happened. A nearby loose cultivator looked completely lost. "What's going on? Isn't Lu Yi that immortal seed from the White Cloud sect? Why are everyone so happy when he comes out?" "I have no idea. I get why the disciples from the White Cloud sect are happy, but why are those from 10,000 Flowers sect and Cold Winter Valley too? And those few loose cultivators, are they possessed? Right, why haven't we seen any disciples from the Heavenly Snake sect and Blood Spirit sect?" The crowd whispered among themselves, buzzing with myriad speculations. Elder Chian saw Lu Yi come out, relaxed a bit, and showed a slight smile. He glanced at the icy-faced Ma Yue and Zhu Luo and sneered. "It seems your disciples couldn't handle the immortal seed of my White Cloud sect." Ma Yue and Zhu Luo's expressions darkened, and they didn't reply but continued to watch the exit. Elder Chian sneered once more and greeted Lu Yi with a smile, saying, "Good boy, it's good that you are out. Nothing untoward happened, right?" Lu Yi smiled slightly. "There were some ripples, but I made it out in the end." Lin Xiaxia spoke up. "Elder Chian, there was a strange occurrence in the East Forest ruins. Thanks to junior brother Lu, we were able to escape with our lives. Otherwise, we might have all perished in there." "A strange occurrence?" Elder Chian was taken aback. His brows furrowed as he looked at them seriously. "What kind of strange occurrence?" "The East Forest ruins are critical for the 5 sects, as it is a precious site where prodigies are cultivated, containing many treasures that help the disciples of the 5 sects become stronger. If something untoward had happened in the East Forest ruins, it would be a significant loss for the 5 sects. We saw members of the Demon Clan in the East Forest ruins. It was the successor of the Nine-Tailed Demon Fox Clan, a descendant of the Nine-Tailed Demon Emperor, who obtained the legacy of the ancient Demon Emperor within the ruins. The exotic beasts within the ruins went berserk, and if it were not for junior brother Lu, we might have already died." One after another, the White Cloud sect disciples spoke up, recounting the events that transpired inside the ruins. This caused Elder Chian's face to shift rapidly, becoming quite unsightly. The Northern Territory's descendant of the Nine-Tailed Demon Fox Clan entered the East Forest ruins, that the ruins were once a battlefield of the legendary Nine-Tailed Demon Emperor. Elder Chian had never imagined that an ancient site preserved by the 5 sects for thousands of years had such origins. The Nine-Tailed Demon Fox Clan's strength was formidable, equivalent to the sanctity of the Immortal sect Holy Land of the Human Clan, far beyond what the 5 sects could compare to. If a powerful demon from that clan arrived in Qingzhou, it might provoke a significant upheaval. Fortunately, this region was human clan territory. Even though the nine-tailed demon fox clan was robust, they would not dare to openly create chaos in human clan territory. Disciples from other sects also started reporting to their supreme elders. Dong Yu and Du Qin likewise had their expressions shift continuously, looking quite grim. What worried them most was whether, after this strange occurrence, they could still enter the East Forest ruins and obtain opportunities. If they were unable to enter, the loss would be tremendously severe. Moreover, what shocked them was that Lu Yi, single-handedly, had killed the Qingzhou prodigies, Zhu Tianhen and Qin Luo, and he did so effortlessly, crushing them. Read new chapters at Empire. Even according to their description, it was Lu Yi alone who led them through the mutant beast tide, allowing everyone to survive. Both Han Yu and Yun, I believed they were far inferior to Lu Yi. This revelation sent shockwaves through the hearts of the two divinity transformation cultivators. As supreme elders of their sects, they certainly knew the talent and strength of their sect's prodigies, who were very likely to break through to the divinity transformation realm, and even reaching the cave void realm was not beyond hope. Even so, they considered themselves far inferior to Lu Yi. The immortal seed truly lives up to its name, Du Qin murmured, glancing towards where Lu Yi was. Just then 2 terrifying presences surged forth, pressing down on Lu Yi. "You brat, such ruthless methods, to dare and kill our blood spirit sect young master. So young yet so vicious, you killed 2 of our sect's prodigal sons. Today you will pay with your life." Ma Yue and Zhu Luo's eyes emitted an undisguised murderous intent, glaring at Lu Yi with faces full of icy fury. It was known that Zhu Tianhen and Qin Luo were rare geniuses seen only once in hundreds of years in their sects, and the time and effort invested in them were substantial. Now both men were dead, and all the sect's investment had been in vain. What's more, the ones who had perished in the ruins were the future core strength of their sects, geniuses of the Foundation establishment realm. The losses incurred today were so considerable that it could cause the sects to bleed. HMPH, you 2 old fools, thousands of years old yet targeting a child, acting as if I'm not here. Elder Qian's face turned icy as he stepped in front of Lu Yi, blocking the pressure. Chapter 144, 94 Yun, Zai's repayment of kindness to Qian, how dare you obstruct me today? Today, Lu Yi must die. The 2 divinity transformation cultivators were surrounded by swirling spiritual energy, their formidable pressure turning the faces of the weaker cultivators nearby pale, causing them all to retreat with faces full of fear. The strength of a master at the divinity transformation realm was simply too overwhelming. Lu Yi, shielded from the pressure by Elder Qian, felt nothing at all. He looked at the 2 divinity transformation cultivators and chuckled. Since they have chosen to surround and kill me, then they should be prepared to be counter-killed. Do they think only they are allowed to kill and not be killed by others? The faces of the 2 divinity transformation cultivators grew solemn as they stepped forward, their aura churning, clearly intending to start a battle. Elder Qian's eyebrows slightly furrowed, with spiritual energy circulating around her body. She eyed the 2 men with a grave expression, ready to face both, despite feeling some danger in doing so. At that moment, from the distant Ningguang ancient ship, streaks of light flew over and landed beside Elder Qian. It was Liu Ningxuang along with a group of elders. Liu Ningxuang, with her cool and beautiful face, stood next to Lu Yi, looking toward the 2 divinity transformation cultivators with spiritual energy swirling around her, seemingly chilling the air a bit more. Without looking at Lu Yi, she spoke calmly, "With your senior sister here, no one can hurt you." Lu Yi felt a warmth in his heart and smiled mildly. "Thank you, senior sister." The other elders also stood in front of Lu Yi one after the other, glaring at Ma Yue and Zhu Luo angrily. "Ma Yue, old ghost, your heavenly snake sect was the first to attack. Nephew Lu was merely retaliating. You want to make a move. Zhu Luo, do you intend to provoke a full-scale war between our 2 sects? Don't forget, Lu Yi's master is the Ling Luo Peak Master." Hearing the name of the Ling Luo Peak Master, the expressions on the faces of the 2 divinity transformation cultivators briefly stiffened before turning cold again. "Regardless, today we are determined to kill Lu Yi." Meanwhile, from the distant Heavenly Snake Sect and Blood Spirit Sect elders also gathered around Ma Yue and Zhu Luo, their auras surging, staring coldly at the members of the White Cloud Sect. Just then, from the area of the 10,000 Flowers Sect, Yunzai suddenly had streaks of fresh flowers swirling around her, transforming into beams of light, arriving beside Lu Yi and saying, "Lu Yi, you've saved me several times before. This time I will help you." Lu Yi was stunned for a moment, not expecting that Yunzai would come to his aid in such a situation. Originally watchful and willing to let the three sects mutually weaken each other, Du Qin was suddenly taken aback. She looked at Yunzai in the distance, her mind full of question marks. "Yunzai." Her expression changed, and she hurriedly shouted sternly, "Yunzai, come back here." Yunzai glanced at Du Qin, shook her head, and said, "I won't go back, I want to help Lu Yi." Feeling the hostility from the Blood Spirit sect and the Heavenly Snake sect, Du Qin frowned and reached out, a terrifying force instantly restraining Yunzai and pulling her back. Yunzai frowned, her spiritual energy bursting forth in an attempt to struggle, but being only at the foundation establishment stage. She was naturally like an ant trying to shake a tree when facing a divinity transformation cultivator. She was quickly restrained and pulled back to Du Qin's side. Du Qin frowned and rebuked, "Yunzai, stop being foolish. This matter is of great importance. If you get involved, it will only be detrimental to the 10,000 Flowers sect." Yunzai's spiritual energy surged as she looked at Du Qin and said, "But Lu Yi has saved me several times." After a brief silence, Du Qin said, "You can repay him later." Yunzai frowned, and after a brief silence, the spiritual energy around her settled down. Seeing this, Du Qin let out a slight sigh of relief, understanding Yunzai's temperament and fearing her stubbornness would make things difficult if she persisted. At that moment, she perceived the unique aura surging within Yunzai's body, and her expression changed drastically. She rushed out, "Yunzai, what are you doing?" Yunzai was surrounded by a verdant light brimming with life, with flowers swirling around her like an immortal among blooms. Looking calmly at Du Qin, she said, "Lu Yi has saved my life several times. Today is the time to repay him. If the Supreme Elder does not agree, then Yunzai has no choice but to bestow her 10,000 Flowers spiritual body essence upon him as repayment." Upon hearing this, Du Qin's face stiffened instantly. "What are you talking about?" Yunzai looked calmly at Du Qin, the power of nature around her growing even more terrifying, with a hint of fragrance diffusing, drawing the attention of everyone around. The surrounding loose cultivators were astounded and somewhat in disbelief. This is the 10,000 Flower spirit body. Yunzai the Immortal is the most talented of the younger generation in the 10,000 Flower sect. She intends to give the essence of her spiritual body to Lu Yi. By doing so, wouldn't she lose her life? What virtues and abilities does Lu Yi possess to warrant such a sacrifice from immortal Yunzai? Even Lu Yi's expression changed slightly, surprised at her offer. Previously, he thought Yunzai's way of thinking was somewhat unconventional, speaking without much thought, but now she was willing to do such a thing for him. The loss of the spirit body essence amounted to Yunzai giving up all her blood and bones. Without it, she would likely perish. Seeing Yunzai's resolution, a few 10,000 Flowers sect disciples exchanged glances and then turned to Du Qin, each of them saying, "Please, Supreme Elder, help Lu Yi. Lu Yi has saved us multiple times in the East Forest ruins. If we do not help him, we would feel uneasy and obstructed in our minds, which would probably hinder our cultivation progress." Read exclusive content at Empire. Seeing even her disciples react this way, Du Qin's expression went through a series of changes. What mattered most to her was, of course, Yunzai. As she watched the verdant hue around Yunzai growing denser, she exclaimed, "Enough, I'll help him." At these words, Yunzai beamed, as the green light around her gradually receded. Nevertheless, Yunzai's face was still slightly pale, clearly having suffered damage to her core essence. Seeing Yunzai's pallor, Du Qin sighed softly. "Yunzai, what trouble have you caused for yourself?" Chapter 145, 94 Yunzai's Repayment of Kindness 3. Yunzai's aura was somewhat weak as she spoke. "Grandmother said, one must repay kindness." Du Qin took a deep breath, a bitter smile on her lips, but this matter is too significant. She stopped overthinking and stepped forward, standing next to Elder Qian, shielding Lu Yi. Upon seeing this, Ma Yue and Zhu Luo's expressions changed. "Du Qin, do you really intend to make enemies of Heavenly Snake sect and Blood Spirit sect? Think carefully whether 10,000 Flowers sect wants to join this battle." Du Qin took another deep breath and coldly glanced at the two. "Less nonsense, today this Lu Yi, 10,000 Flowers sect is determined to protect you." Ma Yue and Zhu Luo saw Du Qin's resolution. their expressions fluctuating. If it were only White Cloud sect, the two sects together might stand a chance, but with 10,000 Flowers sect involved, it was difficult for them to dominate. Meanwhile, at the same time, on the icy mountain of Cold Winter Valley, Han Yu looked at Dong Yu beside him. Noticing Han Yu's gaze, Dong Yu's expression stiffened, a look of exasperation on his face. Han Yu, you're not planning to help that Lu Yi as well, are you? Helping him benefits our Cold Winter Valley in no way. Han Yu calmly looked at Dong Yu and said, Elder Dong Yu, you wouldn't want me and Taoist Xianxia alike to expend the essence of the innate I-spirit body, would you? Dong Yu. The disciples of Cold Winter Valley around them also started speaking. We implore Elder Dong Yu to make a move. Lu Yi has been righteous and saved us from dire straits many times. Without repaying this kindness, we feel uneasy. It unsettles our Tao hearts. Dong Yu and the elders around him all turned grim, casting a long look at Lu Yi. An elder angrily spoke. What demon nature does this brat possess? What exactly has he fed to the disciples? Han Yu calmly said, I merely wish to repay a kindness. Seeing Han Yu's unwavering resolve, Dong Yu sighed. Well then, well then. He too vanished from where he was, appearing next to Elder Qian and Du Qin. Seeing Dong Yu come over, Elder Qian was stunned, his expression oddly perplexed. What charm did his sect's immortal seed have to make two sects willing to help him? Dong Yu and Du Qin exchanged glances, seeing the helplessness in each other's eyes. The expressions on Ma Yue and Zhu Luo's faces turned ugly. Seeing Dong Yu also stand in front of Lu Yi, the powerhouses of the two sects all looked troubled, frowning deeply. Dong Yu, are you also getting involved? Ma Yue looked deeply at Dong Yu. Dong Yu gave a helpless smile. Can't help it, who made Lu Yi save our Cold Winter Valley's innate I-spirit body. This kindness is not small, it must be repaid. Hearing this, Ma Yue and Zhu Luo's expressions instantly darkened. Elder Qian's face broke into a cold sneer. Ma Yue, Zhu Luo, what now? Are you still going to move against my White Cloud sect today? Ma Yue and Zhu Luo's eyes flickered uncertainly as they swept over the three people in front of them. Then Zhu Luo coldly glanced at Lu Yi, his murderous intent chilling. Brat, we'll spare your life today, but soon you will regret your actions. Lu Yi smiled lightly at Zhu Luo, completely unconcerned. Ma Yue and Zhu Luo snorted angrily in unison. Leave. The two, along with a group of elders, left with grim expressions. Seeing the Black Jade strange snake and the Blood Spirit sect ancient ship depart, Elder Qian finally breathed a sigh of relief. She bowed to Dong Yu and Du Qin, a cheerful expression on her face. Thank you both for your assistance. Dong Yu gave a helpless smile. Qian, you are too polite. Next to him, Du Qin glared at Lu Yi with some annoyance and said, No need to thank me, thank Lu Yi instead. Lu Yi didn't mind Du Qin's annoyance and gave a cupped fist salute to the two divinity transformation experts with a smile. Thank you for stepping in. HMPH, young fellow, watch yourself. If you encounter such danger again, I won't save you. Du Qin was displeased. Lu Yi nodded with a smile. Thank you for the warning, senior. I will definitely be more careful next time. Elder Chunian spoke up. All right, now that things are settled here, let's go back. Dong Yu also nodded with a serious expression. The incident at the East Forest ruins was unexpected. This matter is significant. We'll need to thoroughly discuss it upon our return. Your adventure continues at Empire. Hearing this, Du Qin also nodded slightly. Dong Yu and Du Qin returned to their respective flying treasures, while Elder Chunian said to Lu Yi and the others, Let's go too. Lu Yi nodded, and then remembering something, he smiled at the flying treasures of the 10,000 Flowers sect in Cold Winter Valley. Fellow Taoist Xianxia, fellow Taoist Han Yu, and all the fellow Taoists from the two sects, thank you all for your help. When you have time, come visit the White Cloud sect. We'll share drinks and discuss the Tao. Lu Yi hadn't forgotten about Xianxia and Han Yu's substantial practice task rewards. He had to extend the invitation. I will definitely visit you when I have time, said Xianxia's somewhat weary voice. Good, that was Han Yu's response. After that, Lu Yi followed Elder Chunian, senior sister Liu Ningxuang, and a group of White Cloud sect disciples back to the Ningguang ancient ship. Elder Chunian ordered the journey to begin, and everyone departed. Among the disciples from the three sects, only the loose cultivators remained, still discussing the previous events in amazement. No one had expected that the heirs of the 10,000 Flowers sect and Cold Winter Valley were willing to make such sacrifices for Lu Yi. What kind of charm does Luyi possess? Many wondered. Only a few loose cultivators who had survived the East Forest ruins repeated the events inside, and everyone was astonished. Worthy of being an immortal seed, to escape assassination from a descendant of the nine-tailed demon fox clan, truly shocking indeed. To single-handedly break through a beast wave and slay golden core, strange beasts, as if slaughtering chickens. Is this really a Foundation establishment cultivator? It is truly unimaginable. Luyi has only been at the Foundation establishment for a year. Importantly, Luyi is a man of great virtue, willing to use himself as bait to draw away the descendant of the nine-tailed demon emperor. Indeed, I respect such a man as Luyi. No wonder the prodigies of Cold Winter Valley and the 10,000 Flowers sect bowed before him. However, the nine-tailed demon emperor is a legendary supreme demon emperor with formidable power, already at the tribulation crossing to Immortal realm. Who would have thought he would perish in the East Forest ruins? With the legacy of the nine-tailed demon emperor re-emerging, the Northern Territory is about to be thrown into chaos. On the Ningguang ancient ship, Elder Chunyan, worried that the Blood Spirit sect and the Heavenly Snake sect would not let things go so easily and might ambush them on the route, ordered to bypass some paths. Luyi then returned to his room, accompanied by senior sister Liu Ningxuang. Liu Ningxuang looked at Luyi with a hint of surprise in her cool eyes and said, "I didn't expect you, junior brother, to have such charm, making the immortal of the 10,000 Flowers sect and the prodigy of Cold Jade Valley willing to make such sacrifices for you." Luyi gave a slight smile and responded, "Senior sister flatters me. I merely lent them a hand before, and they consider me a friend now." Liu Ningxuang gave a slight smile and did not pursue the topic further. "With the anomalies at the East Forest ruins, you must be tired from these past days. Rest well. I won't disturb you any further." Luyi nodded. Liu Ningxuang turned to leave. After closing the door, Luyi returned to the bed with a spark in his eyes, rubbing his hands together excitedly, his face full of anticipation. Finally having left the East Forest ruins, it was time for the harvest. Luyi looked at his task panel. Chapter 146, 95, The Blood of the Immortal. Task: Eliminate Blood Spirit sect disciples, completed. Eliminate Heavenly Snake sect disciples, completed. Rescue cultivators and leave the East Forest ruins, completed. Leave the East Forest ruins, completed. Kill 3 Golden Core Demon Clan members, completed. Escape from Kinkyu Hua's pursuit, completed. A total of 6 tasks. The last task was self-issued by Luyi when he was being pursued by Kinkyu Hua. Due to Kinkyu Hua's formidable strength, the reward for this task was also extremely generous. Task: Escape from Kinkyu Hua's pursuit, completed. Reward: Talisman 3, Yang True Fire Talisman. Would you like to claim the reward? Yes, no. With the reward completed, Luyi could view the information of the 3 Yang True Fire Talisman. Using this talisman would release the formidable 3 Yang True Fire, a powerful flame capable of reducing a divinity transformation cultivator to ashes, and could be fatal for a cave void cultivator if caught off guard for a moment. With this talisman in hand, it was as if he had an additional powerful weapon, and even when facing cultivators at the cave void realm, Luyi wouldn't be powerless. Luyi happily claimed the reward and carefully stored the talisman. He discovered that talismans were indeed very useful. If he hadn't had the 1,000-mile talisman given by his master this time in the East Forest ruins, the situation might have been even more complicated, and escaping would have been even more difficult. Now, this 3 Yang True Fire Talisman gave Luyi the illusion of holding a nuclear bomb in his hand. If only he could cultivate arts to a deeper level and craft such powerful talismans himself, that would be wonderful. At the same time, Luyi also recalled the array patterns he saw on the stone pillars in the escaped land of the East Forest ruins, curious about what they were. Unfortunately, although he had learned a lot about the basic array, he had not acquired higher-level formations. Perhaps, when he returned to the sect, he could look in the book storage pavilion to see if there were any powerful formation books he could study. Given Luyi's current status within the sect, looking at some formation books shouldn't be a problem. Luyi made a mental note and decided to deal with it after returning to the sect. Luyi continued to review the rewards. Task: Kill the Blood Spirit sect disciples that entered the East Forest ruins. Completed. Reward: Secret Technique, Blood Burning Technique, 3 strands of 1,000-year-old blood ginseng. Would you like to claim the reward? Yes, no. The blood-burning technique was a self-harming secret technique that allowed one to burn one's essence blood to increase one's strength without limit. The more essence blood you burn, the more your strength improves, and the stronger the individual, the greater the amplification will be, with no upper limit. As a secret technique, it could be said to be incredibly powerful and terrifying. However, essence blood was extremely precious to cultivators. Losing it could mildly hurt one's vitality or, more severely, slow down cultivation speed, weaken one's talents, or even cause one's cultivation base to regress. If one's essence blood was depleted, death would not be far off. Unless absolutely necessary, it was better not to use such secret techniques. Lu Yi shook his head slightly. While he could practice the technique, it would have to be without affecting his own cultivation base, as having an additional trump card was also a good choice. However, Lu Yi soon became excited. The rewarded 1,000-year-old blood ginseng was an extremely precious heavenly material and earthly treasure. Its effect was precisely to replenish lost essence blood, and could even replace essence blood to perform the blood-burning technique. With these 3 strands of 1,000-year-old blood ginseng, Lu Yi could use the blood-burning secret technique a few times. Lu Yi happily pocketed his rewards and continued to look at the other task rewards. Task: Kill the heavenly snake sect disciples that entered the East Forest ruins. Completed. Reward: 1 drop of true dragon blood. Would you like to claim the reward? Yes, no. Lu Yi was somewhat astonished and stared wide-eyed when he saw the reward, stupefied. True dragon blood. What is a true dragon? Upon reaching adulthood, it is equivalent to an immortal. Such beings are incredibly powerful. This means that this is a drop of immortal's blood. This reward. Lu Yi was ecstatic. With this drop of true dragon blood, Lu Yi's physical body would undergo a transformation at an incredibly rapid rate, far surpassing its current state. Lu Yi claimed the reward and materialized the true dragon blood within his interspatial ring. His spiritual sense swept over it, and he saw a crystal bottle containing a drop of blood about the size of a baby's fist. The blood was golden, seemingly containing tumultuous waves within, and had an incredibly terrifying aura. Just a sweep of his spiritual sense made Lu Yi's entire body feel cold and stiffen up. Such a terrifying aura. Merely ordinary blood could make Lu Yi feel almost overwhelmed. Continue reading stories on Empire. Was this the power of a true dragon? Even ordinary blood contained such fearsome might. After absorbing Taoist energy, Lu Yi's spiritual sense was extremely keen, and he could feel that even with his current physical strength, attempting to absorb this drop of true dragon blood could be life-threatening. He took a deep breath, forcefully suppressing the thought of absorbing it, and decided to wait until his strength improved further, until his heavenly thunder jade body technique was cultivated to the extreme level before he would attempt to try it. With a happy heart, Lu Yi continued to look at the rewards. Task: Rescue cultivators from the East Forest ruins. Completed. Reward: Increase specified skill level by +2, 1 vial of Thunder Spirit Elixir, 1 vial of Earth Spirit Liquid, and 20% of the Wind Intent Realm. Would you like to claim the reward? Yes, no. Lu Yi looked at the reward with mixed feelings. How to say it? This reward was already extremely generous, not to mention the most practical reward of raising arts levels, the one-time increase of 2 levels, and to specify which skill level to enhance. Chapter 147-95, The Blood of the Immortal 2. Lu Yi just needed to advance in the Immortal Sword Scripture, and he could break through to level 6, reaching level 8. This would significantly enhance his cultivation speed and Immortal Sword Qi. Although the Thunder Spirit Elixir and Earth Spirit Liquid were of little use to Lu Yi, as heavenly materials and earthly treasures, even if they were not used for foundation establishment, they were extremely powerful treasures for cultivation. Not to mention the 20% of the Wind Intent Realm, this reward was naturally very generous. However, after seeing the true dragon blood, Lu Yi felt it was slightly lacking. Lu Yi sighed inwardly. Once the vast sea could not be compared to water. He collected his rewards before looking at others. Task: Leave East Forest ruins. Completed. Reward: Golden Core Realm Spiritual Wine Recipe, Jade Wine. Would you like to claim the task? Yes, no. This reward was the worst he had seen today. Lu Yi complained internally, then checked the function of the jade wine. Then Lu Yi's eyes lit up. The jade wine turned out to be a spiritual wine that could enhance spiritual power. How great! Although Lu Yi already had a 7-colored nourishing spirit flower, after all, there was only one, and it would be gone once used, which was not sustainable for the future. With this jade wine, Lu Yi could continue to enhance his spiritual power. Even though it was the worst reward of the day, Lu Yi still showed a satisfied smile. The last task was to kill 3 golden core demons, and the reward was the 7-colored nourishing spirit flower. This was one of the worst rewards Lu Yi had encountered today. Compared to the powerful blood-burning secret technique, true dragon blood and 20% wind intent realm, it was definitely lacking, but it was still not bad. Lu Yi carefully sorted all the rewards before he breathed a satisfied sigh and happily laid in bed. It was somewhat tough in the East Forest ruins, and he planned to rest a bit. Moreover, he had not yet returned to the sect, and Lu Yi was somewhat worried. What if the Blood Spirit sect and Heavenly Snake sect ambushed them on the way? However, as it turned out, Elder Qian was very cautious. By taking a big detour with the Ningguang ancient ship, as they neared the sect, he used the communication jade to ask for strong members from inside to come and meet them. When Lu Yi saw the Ling Luo Peak Master appear on the ancient ship, he felt completely relieved. His own master might not be very reliable, but from various rumors, her strength was indeed fierce. Although Lu Yi himself had a powerful spiritual sense, he now had a faint perception of the strength of a divinity transformation cultivator, but still felt like he was facing an unfathomable abyss when facing his own master, never knowing where her limits were. Sometimes Lu Yi even suspected his own master might have reached the cave void realm, but did not show it due to being too laid back. Disciple pays respects to master. Lu Yi and Liu Ningxuang came before Ling Luo Peak Master and respectfully greeted her. Ling Luo Peak Master's black hair still had a few strands sticking out messily, but she seemed spirited, not as sleepy as she was in the bamboo house. When she saw Lu Yi, she smiled and patted his shoulder, saying, "Not bad, I heard you wiped out the younger generation of the Heavenly Snake sect and Blood Spirit sect." Lu Yi was exasperated and seriously retorted, "Master, this was self-defense. After all, they wanted to kill me first." Anyone who didn't know any better might think he was a ruthless killer, because of what his own master said. "It's all the same," Ling Luo Peak Master yawned, seemingly indifferent. Lu Yi felt helpless. Who could blame his own master for being so unreliable? Meanwhile, Elder Qian was discussing the happenings of the East Forest ruins with Master Wu Qingfeng, who looked solemn and serious. He coldly stated, "HMPH, Blood Spirit sect, Heavenly Snake sect, they've gone too far. They actually plan to kill Lu Yi. They want to thwart the opportunity for hidden prosperity of White Cloud sect." In Wu Qingfeng's view, Lu Yi's talent was so surprising that he could potentially become an immortal. If Lu Yi became an immortal, their White Cloud sect would then become the Immortal sect Holy Land. How many sects dream of such a thing? As long as Lu Yi lived, White Cloud sect could thrive for countless years. You know, the longest-standing Immortal sect Holy Land that has had immortals in its history can be traced back to hundreds of thousands of years ago. If White Cloud sect could thrive for that long, what a wonderful scene that would be. Lately, Wu Qingfeng had been daydreaming about it. But there were people who wanted to shatter his dream. Wu Qingfeng was incredibly angry Blood Spirit sect. They have been causing trouble within the territory of White Cloud sect lately, and now they want to target our sect's immortal seed. We must show them a lesson. I will go there myself. As he spoke, Wu Qingfeng disappeared from the spot. Seeing Wu Qingfeng disappear, Lu Yi was somewhat worried. Was this powerful figure planning to take on the Blood Spirit sect alone? Lu Yi glanced at his master, who seemed a bit sleepy again, and said helplessly, "Master, the sect leader is going alone. There won't be any trouble, right?" Ling Luo Peak Master waved her hand, unconcerned. "Don't worry, he won't die." Lu Yi. So not dying was good enough, he was speechless. After Wu Qingfeng left, the Ningguang ancient ship quietly returned to White Cloud sect. Lu Yi and Jiang Fan said their goodbyes, and along with his own master and senior sister, returned to Ling Luo Peak. Continue reading stories on Empire. Lu Yi also returned to his own cave mansion. Having been away for a while, the mansion had gathered some dust. Using the dust removal technique, Lu Yi cleaned the mansion before entering the cultivation room and began cultivating. Chapter 148-95, The Blood of the Immortal 3. Lu Yi took out the seven-colored nourishing spirit flower, planning to enhance his spiritual power first. After all, his spiritual power had always been stuck on the brink of transformation, and it had not broken through for so long. Now, with the seven-colored nourishing spirit flower, he could finally make a breakthrough. The seven-colored nourishing spirit flower was a palm-sized flower with 7 colors and emitted a faint fragrance. Lu Yi dared not consume the entire flower all at once, as it was an extremely high-level heavenly material and earthly treasure, filled with immensely powerful force. He was afraid of bursting himself. He took out a petal and placed it in his mouth. Instantaneously, the petal transformed into a stream of cool air and merged into Lu Yi's mind. Boom! A swelling sensation appeared on Lu Yi's forehead, as if mists were churning and heaven and earth were being opened up. He felt his spiritual power increasing rapidly, like waves crashing against the rocks, continually striking against a certain limit. After one petal, Lu Yi felt his spiritual power reach a pinnacle. Without hesitation, he used another petal. The sensation of coolness appeared again, and Lu Yi felt as if lightning had struck his forehead, opening it up, as droplets of golden liquid slowly formed. This was the transformation of spiritual power, condensing into liquid, the extremely powerful force of the primordial spirit. Lu Yi's mind became clearer, and though he couldn't see behind his head, he could vividly outline the scenery behind him in his mind. His spiritual power spread out, easily enveloping his entire cave mansion. Every movement within the mansion seemed to be within his grasp, as if he were within his domain. Lu Yi knew that his spiritual power could keep spreading and had not reached its limit, but with so many strong figures on Ling Luo Peak, it was not appropriate to cause too much commotion. After some thought, he decided to let it be. After the transformation of spiritual power, Lu Yi's control over himself became stronger. In his internal visualization state, he could even perceive his bones and muscles clearly, reaching an extremely powerful realm of self-mastery. No wonder the cultivators at the Divinity Transformation realm had such terrifying combat abilities. With this level of spiritual power, they could utilize every bit of strength to its utmost. Lu Yi couldn't help but inwardly exclaim. Although his spiritual energy cultivation hadn't improved, the effects brought about by this transformation of spiritual power were enough to significantly enhance his combat abilities. He didn't stop there but continued to use the seven-colored nourishing spirit flower. Perhaps because his physical body was extremely strong and he had used Taoist energy for foundation establishment unlike ordinary people. He consumed the petals bit by bit, and only after absorbing half of the seven-colored nourishing spirit flower did he feel like he had reached his limit. By that time, the spiritual power in Lu Yi's forehead had increased by many times, forming a golden lake at the center of his brow, filled with vast and terrifying spiritual power. After the breakthrough in spiritual power, Lu Yi used the reward that added +2 levels to his designated skill level, upgrading his Immortal Sword Scripture to LV8. The Immortal Sword Seed condensed within his body at LV8 of the Immortal Sword Scripture, with immortal Tao patterns interweaving on it. It was an extremely mysterious pattern, which even Lu Yi himself could not fully comprehend, only vaguely touching upon its profound essence. The Immortal Sword Seed with innate Tao patterns was still not as good as the spiritual energy vortex that Lu Yi had created with Taoist energy, floating above it. However, the seven-colored light within the spiritual energy vortex vaguely illuminated the immortal sword pattern, making its immortal Tao patterns appear even more mysterious and profound. Lu Yi had a feeling that if he could fully comprehend this pattern, his strength might reach an unimaginable realm. Afterward, Lu Yi tried to cultivate using the Immortal Sword Scripture, and shockingly, a drop of Millennium Spirit Dew could only last for an hour before being completely absorbed. Lu Yi couldn't help but take a sharp breath. Such efficiency was truly befitting of an LV8 Immortal Scripture. Even a regular Immortal Scripture, when reaching the returning true realm, would not possess such a terrifying efficiency and energy absorption. But once it surpasses level 6, it's already a form of sublimation. By reaching level 8, it's no longer as simple as a normal Immortal Scripture. If it were before, such an efficiency in absorbing spiritual energy wouldn't have been enough for the spirit milk Lu Yi had on hand. Fortunately, Lu Yi had made a trip to the East Forest ruins, where he had made quite a bountiful harvest. Just the myriad spirit dew alone amounted to more than 10,000 drops, nearing 20,000. This was enough for Lu Yi to cultivate for a very long time. Lu Yi began to seal away the Millennium Spirit Dew, using the Myriad Spirit Dew for cultivation. With such abundant resources, Lu Yi no longer went out except for the monthly visit to the Trial Tower. He would almost never leave his cave mansion, focusing on his cultivation. Every day, he practiced the arts during the day and refined his body at night. In his spare time, he visited the book storage pavilion a few times, listening to Elder Ming explain the Sword Tao, and then finding some formation literature to study. Of course, Lu Yi did not neglect the spirit food cooking skill and the spirit wine brewing skill. The ingredients required for jade wine were all at the Golden Core realm level, and there were plenty within Ling Luo Peak. Naturally, Lu Yi did not hold back in taking some. Whenever he went to fetch resources, Lu Yi would also bring 1 or 2 jars of wine to Elder Wang, which delighted the elder so much that he nearly lost his bearings. Sometimes, when Lu Yi was a few days late in collecting materials, Elder Wang would personally deliver them to the entrance of his cave mansion. Continue reading at Empire. As a Golden Core realm spirit wine, jade wine was quite difficult to brew. Within a year, Lu Yi only managed to raise it to level 5. However, he was already very satisfied. Only he could issue tasks, complete them, and receive rewards. A regular cultivator might spend a century and still possibly not raise jade wine to this level. Level 5 jade wine was already quite precious, significantly aiding in the enhancement of spiritual power. Even with Lu Yi's transformed spiritual power, drinking a few bowls daily had a very notable effect. Apart from practicing the spirit wine brewing and spirit food cooking skills, Lu Yi would also practice alchemy in his free time. He had obtained quite a bit of barbaric beast essence blood from the East Forest ruins, all of which Lu Yi used as the main ingredient to craft blood essence pills. Eventually, Lu Yi found that the elixir recipe for blood essence pills could not fully exploit the effects of the barbaric beast essence blood. He specifically used a sudden enlightenment chance, and together with his long-term insight into alchemy, he modified the elixir recipe. Using barbaric beast essence blood as the main ingredient, and with the modified recipe, Lu Yi crafted the barbarian blood pill. The effects of the barbarian blood pill on body refinement were extremely pronounced. Although it was an elixir recipe for the Foundation Establishment realm, its effects were nearly on par with a Golden Core elixir. This was because Lu Yi usually refined elixirs within his cave mansion. If he had done so at Dan Peak, it would have caused the alchemists there to be on the edge of panic. Typically, is not every elixir recipe the result of a grandmaster's painstaking effort, consuming a great deal of their mind and energy, often taking decades or even centuries to develop. Lu Yi merely used his leisure time to craft elixirs, and within just a year, he had completed the improvement of the elixir recipe, elevating the Foundation Establishment elixir to the efficacy of a Golden Core elixir. To others, such an achievement was inconceivable. With the barbarian blood pill, Lu Yi's body refinement speed increased dramatically, and he finally managed to raise his Heavenly Thunder Jade body technique to the extreme level. Having pushed his body refinement technique to the extreme level, and with his cultivation reaching the peak of Foundation Establishment, Lu Yi took out that drop of true dragon blood. He finally felt that he was able to absorb it. Chapter 149-96. The gun almost went off. In the cave mansion cultivation room, Lu Yi took out the drop of true dragon blood. The golden blood contained an incredibly rich essence of life, and its power was wildly turbulent. Lu Yi opened his mouth to suck the blood in. Instantly, a force as boiling as magma exploded and spread throughout Lu Yi's body. Boom! Lu Yi grunted, blood oozing from his pores as his black hair wildly danced, the terrifying life force within him violently pulsating. There were no spiritual energy fluctuations, but Lu Yi's blood turned into heat waves, raising the temperature in the cultivation room significantly, turning it into an oven with the air warping slightly. Lu Yi only felt a terrifying force rampaging inside him, causing a faint pain throughout his body. Lu Yi remained calm, fully operating the Heavenly Thunder Jade body technique, beginning to absorb and refine the dragon blood within him. As the dragon blood was absorbed, Lu Yi's flesh seemed to be reforged, flawless and unblemished, radiating spirit light and pure power. At the same time, a wild aura emerged from Lu Yi, carrying the majesty akin to a true dragon. Just then, the 7-colored spiritual energy vortex within Lu Yi shook slightly, and Tao sounds emerged, with the roar of a true dragon exploding beside Lu Yi's ears. In Lu Yi's mind, his spiritual power boiled. He seemed to perceive a golden giant dragon roaring in the endless void, with the surrounding void shattering and stars dimming, as if the dragon was the only being in the world. Natural patterns were etched on the dragon's scales, like innate Tao patterns, intertwining Tao and logic in a mysteriously profound manner. With just one glance, Luya felt dizzy, his head splitting with pain. The dragon, akin to an immortal, affected mortals significantly with its profound mystery just by existing. The Tao and logic on those scales could captivate mortals with just a glance, leading them to indulge until their life's end. At that moment, the Tao sound inside Luya's heart grew louder. Luya's mind revealed a mysterious Tao Yun, and he subconsciously began to comprehend the meaning behind the patterns on the scales. It was as if he was looking through an endless fog, preventing Lu Yi from seeing the essence clearly. Lu Yi decisively used the opportunity for sudden enlightenment he had just earned from a task given by his master. His mind became clear, his brain whirring rapidly, merging with the Tao sound as if he were a naturally born Tao child, possessing an inexplicable affinity with the Tao. Lu Yi looked again at the roaring giant dragon in the void, at the patterns of Tao and logic, his heart vaguely comprehending, indulging in their depths. It was the explanation of the most primal physical strength. Every drop of blood, every scale, every thread of muscle seemed to be narrating the strength of life itself. Lu Yi began to combine this origin power with his own, continuing to enhance his heavenly thunder body refining technique. Find your next read on Empire. His body was adorned with thunder patterns, while the rest of his skin was like white jade, translucent and flawless. At that moment, faint golden light emerged on the jade-like skin, with strange patterns flickering on it, seemingly weaving a terrifying force. An apparition of a golden giant dragon appeared above Luya's head and roared skyward. Roar! The dragon's roar echoed throughout Ling Luo Peak, and similarly throughout the entire inner sect. A hint of dragon's might, albeit faint, caused the cultivators within the sect to open their eyes wide in shock. Many cultivators in retreat burst out of their cave mansions to take to the skies. What's going on? Did I just hear a dragon's roar? Is it just my imagination? I seem to have felt a strange pressure. Could it be the legendary dragon's might? Even Elder Ming, who was in the book storage pavilion, couldn't help but widen his eyes, looking in the direction of the sound. The other Divinity Transformation Realm Supreme Elders and Peak Masters also took to the air, looking towards Ling Luo Peak in utter amazement. It's coming from the direction of Ling Luo Peak. Is it the Ling Luo Peak Master who has obtained a treasure with dragon bloodline? Everyone was puzzled and uncertain. Meanwhile, at the summit of Ling Luo Peak, the Ling Luo Peak Master was awakened by the dragon's roar as she was sleeping. She opened her eyes wide, her expression showing a hint of astonishment. This aura, true dragon. No, it's a bit weaker. Is it exotic beast essence blood rich with true dragon blood? Her body vanished from its spot, following the aura, and soon found its source. Standing outside Luya's cave mansion, the Ling Luo Peak Master had a stiff expression and scratched her head, muttering to herself. It seems this kid got quite a haul from the East Forest ruins. Indeed, he's the one who triggered my great destiny skills sensation, blessed with vast fate. Just then a streak of sword light flashed by. It was Liu Ningxuang who had followed the aura to this location as well. Upon seeing the Ling Luo Peak Master, Liu Ningxuang bowed, "Master." She looked towards the cave mansion with a surprised gleam in her cool eyes. Is this commotion the work of junior brother? The Ling Luo Peak Master nodded slightly. This kid must have obtained some exotic beast essence blood containing the true dragon blood from the East Forest ruins. He's really daring to consume essence blood of this caliber at his cultivation base. Liu Ningxuang's eyes shimmered, looking towards the cave mansion she praised. Junior brother must be confident. Having absorbed such essence blood, his strength will be even greater. The Ling Luo Peak Master nodded again, gave a mischievous smile to Liu Ningxuang. You need to practice diligently, or perhaps in not too long, you will be surpassed by your junior brother. Liu Ningxuang nodded slightly, Chapter 150-96. The gun almost went off too. The vast dragon shadow quickly converged into a golden light and entered into Lu Yi's body. The dragon's might dissipated, and Lu Yi slowly opened his eyes flickering with strands of golden light, exuding an unimaginable majesty. The golden light soon vanished, and Lu Yi's eyes returned to pitch black, his heart brimming with surprise. It really was true dragon blood. Even though it was just ordinary blood, it still caused a transformation in him as profound as rebirth. Luya felt that his physical strength had increased significantly compared to before, so much so that he could even punch a huge hole in the sky. Of course, this was just an illusion of a sudden increase in strength. Beyond that, more importantly, by relying on the not yet completely erased true dragon seal within the drop of true dragon blood, combined with his own sudden enlightenment and foundation in the Tao, he hadn't yet broken through to the golden core realm, but had once again perfected his heavenly thunder jade body technique, causing it to transform. The current heavenly thunder jade body technique contained the heaven and earth mysterious that Lu Yi had comprehended from the true dragon scale, and could refine his body to be as strong as that of a true dragon. Although what Lu Yi had comprehended from the scale was merely a tiny fraction, it was the mysterious contained within an immortal level life, and even a tiny fraction was immensely powerful. The heavenly thunder true dragon technique, a body refining technique sufficient to cultivate to the divinity transformation realm. If cultivated to the limit, Lu Yi's body would possess both the formidable strength of a true dragon and the destructive nature of heavenly thunder, making it extremely fearsome. By then, he might be able to slay powerful cultivators in the divinity transformation realm, using just his physical body. After absorbing the true dragon blood, Lu Yi continued to consolidate his understanding. 2 days passed, and Lu Yi heard a crisp voice from outside his cave mansion. Senior brother, your adorable junior sister has come to see you." Lu Yi opened his eyes and couldn't help but smile, disappearing from where he was and arriving at the entrance, where he opened the door of the cave mansion. He then saw Donggong Mingyue and Liu Ningxuang standing outside. Upon seeing Lu Yi open the door, Donggong Mingyue rushed forward, her dark eyes wide with amazement as she looked at Lu Yi, flooding him with a whiff of fragrance, and a peculiar sentiment emerged in his heart. Lu Yi felt that today's Donggong Mingyue seemed more charming than usual, causing thoughts to unwittingly drift through his mind. Lu Yi paused, feeling a bit odd. This reaction, I never had this before. Lu Yi suddenly recalled something. Dragons are inherently lustful. True dragon blood was still immensely powerful for him after absorption, and he hadn't consolidated his own state thoroughly yet. Was it the influence of the true dragon characteristics? Lu Yi felt a bit of a toothache, pressing down his thoughts, planning to focus on fully absorbing and digesting the true dragon blood later, as this influence was not too desirable. He grinned and said, "Junior sister, why are you looking at me like that?" In the past year, with Lu Yi's support, Donggong Mingyue had finally broken through to the Qi Cultivation 13th layer a few months ago, and she might be able to advance to the Foundation Establishment realm after a bit more time. Donggong Mingyue asked in surprise, "Senior brother, a dragon's might appeared 2 days ago. Master and senior sister said it was caused by you absorbing dragon blood." Lu Yi was taken aback, then smiled. "Yes, indeed it was me." Donggong Mingyue immediately exclaimed, "Master said after absorbing the dragon blood, your strength will greatly increase. Does that mean you are now much more powerful than before?" Lu Yi smiled slightly. "Indeed, I've made some progress." Donggong Mingyue covered her head, looking troubled. "Ah, just when I thought I had finally broken through to the Qi Cultivation 13th layer and could catch up to you, you improved again. You'll lose friends this way." Liu Ningxuang smiled faintly. "Congratulations, brother, for your improvement." Lu Yi smiled. "Thank you, senior sister." In this past year, Lu Yi's cultivation base had also improved significantly, his technique reaching level 8. Plus, having continually used myriad spirit dew, in just 1 year, his cultivation base had elevated to the Foundation Establishment 9th layer, and he wasn't far from the Foundation Establishment 10th layer. It's known that in a great realm, the further one progresses, the slower the pace of cultivation. Lu Yi's rapid progress within a year was already incredibly frightening. He chuckled, "I've been diligently cultivating every day. Now that senior sister and junior sister have come, and I've made progress, how about we gather for a meal to celebrate? Your next chapter awaits on Empire." Donggong Mingyue seemed to have guessed it already, and upon hearing Lu Yi's words, immediately jumped up, laughing. "Great. Missy will eat more meat today so I can break through to the Foundation Establishment realm faster." Liu Ningxuang naturally had no objections, and said with a light laugh, "It's a pleasure to drink your jade wine, junior brother." The 3 of them sat down in the hall. Lu Yi brought out some drinks and dishes, and they chatted while eating. Their conversation mainly revolved around their insights into cultivation, exchanging ideas, mostly between Lu Yi and Liu Ningxuang, while Donggong Mingyue listened. After all, Donggong Mingyue's cultivation was not on par with the other two, and in terms of talent, after Lu, Yi had absorbed Taoist energy and frequently used moments of sudden enlightenment. Even Liu Ningxuang was amazed by his understanding of the Tao, which made their exchange quite engaging. The three discussed the Tao for several dual hours, before finally talking about recent events. Liu Ningxuang took a sip of Jade wine and said softly, "Since we returned from the East Forest ruins, the leader of the Blood Spirit sect heard of his offspring's death and was very angry. The Blood Spirit sect has fully initiated war against the White Cloud sect, even having nascent soul realm elders from the Blood Spirit sect attack our sect's station, resulting in the death of a nascent soul elder." Chapter 151-96. The gun almost went off 3. Hearing these words, Lu Yi's eyebrows knit together slightly, his face icy cold. Even the nascent soul elders have entered the fray. The Blood Spirit sect is truly insane. Our White Cloud sect is not weaker than the Blood Spirit sect. Do they not fear mutual destruction in such a war? Donggong Minju's pretty face was slightly flushed, as she had drunk quite a bit of concentrating spirit dew, and seemed to be a bit intoxicated. She leaned on Lu Yi's arm, tottering, and murmured, "The Blood Spirit sect are lunatics to begin with. They are just the type to do something like this." Liu Ningxuang also nodded slightly. At this point, there's no way to ease the tension. A while ago, the sect leader took action himself, killing 2 divinity transformation supreme elders of the Blood Spirit sect in their own territory. According to the messages from the sect leader, he is now being chased by the Blood Spirit sect's leader and several supreme elders. Lu Yi thought back to when he had just returned and recalled the sect leader's angry demeanor, feeling a warmth in his heart. He hadn't expected the sect leader to actually go and vent his anger, and once he made a move, he had directly killed 2 supreme elders. One should know, cultivators at the divinity transformation stage were rare powerhouses in the entire eastern domain. With 2 of them dead in quick succession, the Blood Spirit sect must have been seriously hurt. So domineering, Lu Yi inwardly exclaimed, then worrying about the current situation of his own sect leader, he felt a bit anxious. The sect leader won't be in trouble, right? Liu Ningxuang smiled lightly. "No worries. The master said that what the sect leader is best at is techniques for escaping danger." Lu Yi. Upon hearing this, Lu Yi's worries eased, as cultivators who specialized in escape techniques were surely not easy to kill. Lu Yi smiled faintly. "That's good to hear." However, the sect leader is now unable to return to the sect. He has tied up a lot of the Blood Spirit sect's resources within their territory. If he were to come back, given the temperament of the Blood Spirit sect's cultivators, they would probably invade en masse. Inside the sect, we have the protective sect formation, so there's no problem, but outside I'm afraid there will be a catastrophe, said Liu Ningxuang. Hearing this, Lu Yi couldn't help but feel for the sect leader. Truly, he had it tough. Off to the side, Donggong Minju, now quite drunk, kept rubbing her little face against Lu Yi's sleeve, and said groggily, "Yesterday, I heard in the workshop that there seems to be some movement from the Heavenly Snake sect too. They might join forces with the Blood Spirit sect to attack us. After all, one of their sect's chosen ones was slain by senior brother." Lu Yi's brows furrowed slightly upon hearing this. The territory of the Heavenly Snake sect isn't close to that of the White Cloud sect. There is the 10,000 Flowers sect in between. How could they come here? Liu Ningxuang glanced at Donggong Minju, who continued to nuzzle Lu Yi like a kitten, took a sip of her drink, and said indifferently, "I've heard as much too. The Heavenly Snake sect and the Blood Spirit sect share a border, and there is an emerging alliance between the two sects. It's likely that disciples from the Heavenly Snake sect will enter our White Cloud sect's domain through the Blood Spirit sect." Lu Yi felt his heart sink a little when he heard this. What does the sect plan to do then? One should know that the White Cloud sect's power was comparable to that of the Blood Spirit sect. If the Heavenly Snake sect were to join the latter, 2 against 1, the White Cloud sect might find it difficult to withstand. Liu Ningxuang spoke up. "The idea within the sect is that if they can join hands, so can we. A Supreme Elder has already gone to the 10,000 Flowers sect and Cold Winter Valley to persuade both sects to form an alliance against the threat." "Will those 2 sects agree?" asked Lu Yi, concerned. At that moment, Lu Yi suddenly felt Donggong Minju wrap her hand around his arm, and he felt a surge of vast softness. His body shuddered, and he felt somewhat numb all over. Knock it off. He was already under the influence of the dragon blood. Was this really testing his integrity? Luya felt numb and sat there, not daring to move for the moment. And to think, had his junior sister grown so much in these years? Luya glanced at Donggong Minju's drunken state, the corner of his mouth twitching involuntarily. He wasn't sure why, but recently, every time she got drunk she seemed to want to cling to him. Luya began to wonder if his little junior sister had fallen in love with him, but since the task wasn't complete, he was a bit baffled by the situation. He couldn't figure out if there was a problem with his junior sister or with the task panel itself. This gave Luya a bit of a headache. Just then the cool voice of Liu Ningxuang rose from beside him. "Little Minju, you should first go expel the spiritual wine from your body. What kind of behavior is this, acting drunk like a fool?" tilde. Donggong Mingyue let out an unconscious murmur and then twisted her body, causing Luya to tense up immediately. Liu Ningxuang sipped her wine, her pretty face cold. Strands of spiritual energy swirled around her, and a piece of ice suddenly formed at the back of Donggong Mingyue's neck. The ice fell from the air and slipped inside her clothing from the back of her neck. Luya could distinctly feel Donggong Mingyue's body tremble. Even the touch on his arm felt more delightful. Luya. Beads of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He was a bit dumbfounded. What kind of torture was this? At that moment, Donggong Mingyue let out a cry of shock and jumped up. Her somewhat hazy big eyes filled with a hint of confusion as she looked at Liu Ningxuang. "Senior sister, what are you doing?" Liu Ningxuang smiled lightly. "Just helping you snap out of it. Go and refine the spiritual wine first, so as not to waste the kind intention of your junior brother." "Oh," Donggong Mingyue uttered and stumbled towards Luya's cultivation room. After Donggong Mingyue left, Luya breathed a sigh of relief and relaxed. Just now, he almost lost control over the strange movements within his body. Seeing that Luya looked a bit off, Liu Ningxuang asked with concern, "Junior brother, you don't seem to look well. Is there a problem?" Luya gave a dry laugh and shook his head. "It's nothing. I almost had a negligent discharge just now." Liu Ningxuang raised an eyebrow with some confusion. "A negligent discharge? What do you mean?" Luya circulated his spiritual energy, discreetly calming it down, and said with a smile, "I was just thinking about how the crisis our sect is facing was caused by me slaying those two prodigies, and I feel a bit guilty about it." Liu Ningxuang shook her head slightly. "Junior brother, you shouldn't say that. You are an immortal seed of our White Cloud sect, and of course, we have to protect you until you grow up. Besides, they were the ones who tried to kill you first, so what if you killed them?" Warmed by her words, Luya said, "Thank you for your comforting words, senior sister. I understand now. This drink is to you." Luya controlled his spiritual energy to fill up Liu Ningxuang's cup. After drinking the wine, Liu Ningxuang lightly smiled and said, "Moreover, the Immortal of 10,000 Flowers sect is willing to destroy her spiritual body essence for you. The odds of 10,000 Flowers sect joining forces with us are still quite high. Explore hidden tales at Empire." Hearing this, Luya coughed repeatedly and said earnestly, "I have great respect for Taoist Yunzai who repays kindness with kindness. And of course, fellow Taoist Yu as well." "I admire them too," Liu Ningxuang chuckled lightly. The two chatted about various topics, and not long after, Donggong Mingyue came out of the cultivation room. Perhaps because her cultivation base was increasing, lately Donggong Mingyue had been refining spirit food and spiritual wine faster than before, and the time Lu Yi and senior sister Ningxuang spent alone had gotten shorter. After Donggong Mingyue came out, Liu Ningxuang bid goodbye to Lu Yi and left the cave mansion with Donggong Mingyue. Another month passed, and Lu Yi was cultivating within his cave mansion when he suddenly heard a familiar voice outside. "Taoist Lu Yi, Yunzai is here for a visit. Please come out to meet me." Chapter 152, 97, The Food Protective Donggong Mingyue. Yunzai. Upon hearing the voice, Luya paused, his expression filled with confusion. Yunzai was the darling treasure of the 10,000 Flowers sect. Why would she come to the White Cloud sect? Then, Luya remembered his previous conversation with his senior sister. If Yunzai had arrived, it was quite likely that the supreme elder of the 10,000 Flowers sect had also come along. Could it mean that the alliance talks between the two sects had made progress? Luya felt a surge of joy, and a slight smile appeared on his face. He walked to the entrance of his cave mansion and opened the door, only to see Yunzai, in a green skirt, standing playfully at the entrance. She was leisurely looking around, her expression relaxed. As Lu Yi opened the door, Yunzai looked over and smiled. Lu Yi, it's been a while since we last met. How have you been? Lu Yi smiled and replied, all is well, and it's a neglectful host who doesn't welcome a visiting friend from afar. Please, come in first and we'll talk. Yunzai nodded her head and followed Lu Yi into the cave mansion. Once seated, Lu Yi chuckled and offered, care for a drink? I have some fine wine here. Yunzai's eyes gleamed. The wine you gave me last time in the East Forest ruins. I want some of that. Lu Yi smiled mysteriously. Not that one. This one is even better. At these words, Yunzai's eyes shone brightly and curiosity surfaced. Even better than that one. I'm very curious. Lu Yi smiled as he fetched the jade wine. As soon as he opened it, Yunzai exclaimed, I can tell this already surpasses the wine from last time by a lot. Lu Yi smiled and praised, Taoist Yunzai, your spiritual sense is astonishing. He poured a cup for Yunzai. After taking a sip and feeling her spiritual power change, she widened her eyes in surprise. This wine. It enhances spiritual power too, and the effect is so much better than the last one. Lu Yi smiled, sipped his wine and said, This is a golden core realm spiritual wine that I happened to obtain by a lucky coincidence. It can't be compared to the wine I gave you before. Yunzai marveled, Lu Yi, you really have great luck. Yunzai still remembered how, back in the East Forest ruins, Lu Yi had stumbled upon an artifact. Lu Yi glanced at Yunzai, took out 2 jars of wine and passed them to her, saying with a smile, Since we are friends, take these 2 jars of jade wine and enjoy them. Yunzai's eyes brightened and without standing on ceremony, she smiled and said, Great. Having a friend like you, Lu Yi, is truly wonderful. Understandably acquainted with Yunzai's character, Lu Yi didn't mind her directness. He said with a smile, I haven't properly thanked you for asking Elder Du Qin for help outside the East Forest ruins. How is your 10,000 flowers spirit body now? Suffered any damage? Yunzai replied with a chuckle. There was some impact at the time, but Granny used some treasures to help me recover. Seeing Yunzai treating it so lightly warmed Lu Yi's heart a bit. It had to be said, Yunzai had the heart of a child, clear in her views of gratitude and grudges, definitely someone worth befriending. Lu Yi didn't pursue the matter further but voiced his own curiosity. What brings Taoist Yunzai to the White Cloud sect? Yunzai took a quiet sip of wine, her snowy jade-like cheeks tinged with a hint of rosy color, and then she replied, I came with Elder Du Qin. We've heard that the Heavenly Snake sect and the Blood Spirit sect have allied, and the White Cloud sect's supreme elder went to our 10,000 Flowers sect. After discussions, we plan to come here to talk about forming an alliance with the White Cloud sect. At her words, Lu Yi felt relieved and laughed. The 10,000 Flowers sect is really willing to form an alliance with the White Cloud sect. Yunzai nodded slightly. Yes, discussions are ongoing and it should be possible. My presence here represents the will of the 10,000 Flowers sect. Hearing this, Lu Yi smiled and commented, I suppose you've had a hand in persuading them, Taoist Yunzai. Unexpectedly, Yunzai shook her head slightly and said, Granny learned of what happened at the East Forest ruins and said that Lu Yi is a one-of-a-kind prodigy who may become an unmatched figure in the future. Now is the right time to form a good relationship. Lu Yi was left somewhat speechlessly amused. Such words were not commonly spoken, and only someone as frank as Yunzai would say them. He said with a smile, Your granny seems to hold a very high position in the 10,000 Flowers sect. Of course, Granny is the sect leader of the 10,000 Flowers sect. Lu Yi realized then, no wonder. Nevertheless, the vision of the sect leader of the 10,000 Flowers sect was truly admirable. She knew of his talent. As long as he continued to use his task panel normally, without a doubt, becoming an immortal should pose no problem. He said with a smile, Please convey my thanks to the sect leader of the 10,000 Flowers sect on my behalf. Yunzai gave a slight nod, Afterward, the two chatted more, and according to Yunzai, the alliance matters between the 10,000 Flowers sect and the White Cloud sect were not a trivial issue and might take some time to discuss. During this period, she might end up staying here. For Lu Yi, this was a joyful matter. After all, the rewards for sparring with Yunzai were not meager. It was then that Lu Yi encountered a surprise, exclaiming, Taoist Yunzai, you've broken through to the Golden Core realm. Yunzai nodded slightly and laughed. Yes, I could have broken through 3 years ago, but I suppressed my cultivation base in anticipation of the East Forest ruins. Now that it's over, I've made my breakthrough. He laughed and asked, Given that, would Taoist Yunzai care for a little sparring match to test our strength? In his mind, Luya told himself, I must defeat Yunzai. Task: defeat Yunzai. Reward: a drop of centennial spirit marrow, natural realm conception enhancement. Accept the task, yes, no. Seeing the task reward on the panel, Luya's eyes sparkled, and his heart filled with surprise. Indeed, after Yunzai's breakthrough to the golden core realm, her strength had increased greatly compared to before, and the rewards for the sparring task had become even richer. Chapter 153, 97, The Fu-Protecting Donggong Ming Yue 2. Spirit marrow, that is a precious item that even in a cave heaven-blessed land with extremely dense spiritual energy, has only a chance to form, and may not necessarily be produced even within 10,000-year-old spirit milk. One can imagine just how precious this spirit marrow is. Although there is only one drop of spirit marrow, its value even surpasses hundreds or thousands of drops of myriad spirit dew. As for the natural realm, there has been no change from before. Yunzai cocked her head to the side upon hearing Luya's words, her expression somewhat confused. I always feel that Taoist Luya seems quite eager to spar with me. Luya was startled, not expecting Yunzai's intuition to be so strong. He chuckled and said, Indeed, I am eager. Taoist Yunzai is not weak, and sparring with you I'm afraid I may gain something. Yunzai smiled and said, Taoist Luya's strength is the true force to reckon with. Even just a year ago, your strength was beyond what I possess now, and sparring with you my gains would be the greatest. Should I offer you some form of compensation? Luya chuckled and replied, There's no need for those words, Taoist Yunzai. We are friends, and friends who spar together, how could we talk of compensation? Luya felt that if he truly accepted compensation, his conscience would hurt. After all, the task reward was already plentiful. Seeing Luya put it this way, Yunzai immediately showed a joyful smile. We are friends, and I also wish to spar with you. In that case, there's no time like the present. Let's go outside. Explore more stories at Empire. Luya, looking forward to it, took Yunzai to the wasteland where he often sparred with Donggong Ming Yue. Standing opposite each other, Luya thought for a moment and lightly pointed his finger. Array patterns emerged from his hand and landed on the corners of the surroundings. Soon after, a transparent barrier appeared, enveloping them within. Yunzai's eyes widened in astonishment. Is this the method of void condensing formation? Only by grasping formation to a fairly profound realm can one master this technique. Taoist Luya, you are actually proficient in formation. Luya slightly smiled. Seeing the array patterns inscribed on the stones of the East Forest ruins escape land sparked some curiosity. After coming back, I started learning about formation, and unexpectedly, I found I had a talent for it. In this period, Luya hadn't neglected formation, still practicing it often. Alas, even though he had gone through most of the formation books of White Cloud sect, he still found the inscriptions from East Forest ruins to be mysteriously profound. Yunzai became silent for a moment, then looked at Luya wistfully and spoke. Taoist Luya, speaking like that, you make it very easy for my cultivation heart to become unbalanced. Luya was taken aback for a moment, then chuckled lightly. Taoist Yunzai has a steadfast heart. It shouldn't be the case. To be honest, with Yunzai's temperament, her cultivation heart is hardly likely to be weak. Luya thought, perhaps only his senior sister Liu Ningxuang's cultivation heart could compare to hers. Yunzai smiled again. Let's begin. Spiritual energy circulated around her, and miraculously, 7 colored flowers began to slowly grow from the barren ground around her, emitting a rich fragrance. The moment Luya caught a whiff of the aroma, he felt somewhat lightheaded. His expression remained calm, and the domineering immortal sword Qi within him turned, expelling the alien sensations and restoring clarity to his mind. Luya pointed his finger, and a golden sword light surged forth like the heavenly sword descending from the skies, streaking towards Yunzai. From behind Yunzai, a big tree burst through the soil, its trunk twining like an old dragon, facing the sword light head-on. Boom! The sword light slashed through the trunk, sending wood chips flying and proceeded a distance, dimming considerably. However, the sword light was imbued with immortal intent. Even though it became dim, it still carried a sharp aura, which caused Yunzai's complexion to change slightly. She increased her spiritual energy output to completely annihilate the golden sword light. Luya smiled faintly and released another golden sword light. Yunzai opened her mouth, and a 7-colored flower flew out from her rosy lips. Though the flower seemed beautiful, it was incredibly sharp, clashing with the golden sword light and emitting a metallic clang. After a momentary standstill, the flower shattered the golden sword light, then charged towards Lu Yi. Lu Yi's expression stayed calm, as he once again sent forth a strand of golden sword light to meet the seven-colored flower. Clang, clang, clang. In amidst the clangor of metal, the brilliance of the seven-colored flower dimmed significantly, and it was repelled away. Xianxia let out a muffled grunt as her breath fluctuated, becoming a bit weaker. She beckoned the seven-colored flower back to her, and as spiritual energy flowed, she exclaimed sharply, and the flowers on the ground rose into the air, drifting towards Lu Yi. The drifting myriad flowers were beautiful, but each bore an unparalleled sharp edge, combining elegance with a hint of lethal intent. This was an extremely powerful spell, and if it were any ordinary golden core cultivator, even at the gold core 6th or 7th layers, they would have difficulty resisting it. But Lu Yi's expression remained serene as he casually drew a line, creating a golden sword curtain to shield himself. The myriad flowers fell upon the sword curtain, which vibrated but did not break. The sword curtain, formed by the condensation of immortal sword qi, was naturally not so easily breached. Once the cascade of flowers vanished, Lu Yi quickly pointed out, releasing streaks of golden sword light. Xianxia's complexion shifted slightly, and her slender hands formed seals rapidly. Behind her, an azure lotus phantom appeared. The lotus swayed, shooting out beams of cyan light, which collided densely with the golden sword light. Amidst the non-stop thunderous explosions, the fierce sword light scattered in all directions, striking the ground. However, white light emerged on the ground, blocking the sword light and preventing significant damage. Otherwise, just a single streak of sword light would have been enough to cause substantial destruction. Chapter 154-97, Donggong Ming Yue Protecting Food 3. Lu Yi's formation cultivation base was already quite strong, so he could easily block this level of destructive power. A moment later, the green lotus phantom dimmed, and Xianxia's breath became much weaker, her complexion slightly pale. It was visible that, although the power of this art was quite immense, it also consumed a lot. To Lu Yi, immortal sword qi was just a casual strike, but for Xianxia, she had to use such arts to defend herself, which obviously made it difficult for her to handle. A while later, Xianxia's spiritual energy was nearly depleted, and the phantom behind her shattered. Xianxia said helplessly, "Taoist Lu Yi, your strength is astonishing. I've lost." Lu Yi smiled slightly. "Taoist Xianxia, your strength has greatly improved compared to before, which is a good thing." Xianxia smiled, her beautiful eyes looking at Lu Yi as she said, "Taoist Lu Yi is really a good person. During this sparring, you've been showing me moves. I've only cultivated this green lotus secret technique for a short time, and I had already reached a bottleneck. Today, with full force and the pressure from Taoist Lu Yi, it gave me some inspiration." Hearing this, Lu Yi said with a smile, "Having insights during sparring is naturally the best." Xianxia smiled faintly, also very happy. "I have to thank Taoist Lu Yi as well." "I should also thank Taoist Xianxia. After all, I've gained quite a bit as well," Lu Yi said with a smile, glancing at the completed task. Just then an exclamation arose from not too far away, "Senior brother." Lu Yi was startled and looked toward the direction of the voice, only to see Donggong Ming Yue standing there. Donggong Ming Yue's eyes widened as she looked at Lu Yi, then at Xianxia, and then ran up to Lu Yi, staring at Xianxia. "Senior brother, who is this woman? Is she flirting with you?" Lu Yi. He heard this and was left speechless. What did she mean by flirting? Xianxia heard this and was stunned for a moment, then earnestly explained, "I'm not flirting with Taoist Lu Yi." Unable to help himself, Lu Yi knocked on Donggong Ming Yue's forehead. Donggong Ming Yue immediately covered her head, looking aggrievedly at Lu Yi. "Why are you hitting me? Lu Yi, you've changed. This was our secret sparring spot, and now you bring another woman here, and now you're hitting me too." Lu Yi was at a loss, saying helplessly, "Her name is Xianxia. She is a disciple of the 10,000 Flowers sect here to discuss an alliance with the White Cloud sect. Besides, she and I are just friends. What's wrong with sparring? Also, you should address me as senior brother. Have you forgotten?" Lu Yi couldn't help but knock on her head again. What was up with his junior sister? Her attitude almost made one think he had been caught with a mistress. The wronged puppy dog eyes from Donggong Ming Yue almost made him feel guilty. Hearing Lu Yi's words, Donggong Ming Yue suddenly realized, sizing up Xianxia, she said, "So you're Taoist Xianxia. I've heard my senior brother mention you. I'm his most beloved junior sister Donggong Mingyue with the innate thunder spirit body. Yunzai, seeing Donggong Mingyue introduce herself, also seriously introduced herself. I'm Yunzai, a friend of Taoist Lu Yi, with the 10,000 flower spirit body. I know, I just wanted to say, my talent is not inferior to yours, Donggong Mingyue said with hands on her hips, looking at Yunzai. Lu Yi looked at Donggong Mingyue with some confusion, as she usually got along well with others, but she seemed to puff up like an irate cat upon seeing Yunzai. Yunzai was also slightly tilting her head, looking puzzled at Donggong Mingyue. What does your talent have to do with me? Why do you seem not to like me? Donggong Mingyue's expression stiffened. Wah. Stay connected with Empire. She opened her mouth, finding it hard to understand why this person would directly say you seem not to like me. This left Donggong Mingyue at a loss for words for a moment. Lu Yi said helplessly on the side, Taoist Yunzai, please don't mind it. My junior sister might be acting this way because it's her first time meeting you and she's somewhat shy. Yunzai, upon hearing this, nodded in realization, just like Zio Huang. Donggong Mingyue was taken aback and curiously asked, who is Zio Huang? Yunzai said with a smile, it's a little dog I raised. Donggong Mingyue immediately jumped up, you're the little dog. I am of the human clan, not a little dog. Then why do you say I'm like a little dog? Because it really does look alike. Are you trying to pick a fight? You're too weak, not my match, I won't fight you. You? Watching Donggong Mingyue fuming with anger and Yunzai with a serious face, Lu Yi held his forehead, feeling a bit of a headache. What's the matter with these two? He cleared his throat and said with a smile, Junior sister Taoist Yunzai, let's head back to the cave mansion to rest. By the way, junior sister, why are you here? Donggong Mingyue, still brimming with indignation, glared at Yunzai and then spoke, I came looking for you, brother. Not finding you in the cave mansion and hearing some noise over here, I came to check it out. I didn't expect to see you getting cozy with another woman. Lu Ye. He tapped Donggong Mingyue's forehead again. What do you mean getting cozy? Can you even use that phrase properly? We were sparring. Yunzai, standing nearby, looked at Donggong Mingyue in surprise. You don't seem very old, yet you know what getting cozy is. Donggong Mingyue. Her face flushed red and she trembled with anger, unable to speak. The corner of Lu Yi's mouth twitched and he quickly soothed. Let's go back for some roasted meat. Oh, and you're about to reach Foundation Establishment, right? I have 5 drops of Thunder Spirit Elixir that I got earlier. I'll give them to you. The Thunder Spirit Elixir was something Lu Yi obtained from various tasks. He didn't need it himself, so giving it to Donggong Mingyue for her Foundation Establishment would perfectly strengthen her foundation in Thunder Tao. Hearing this, Donggong Mingyue's eyes lit up, and she smirked at Yunzai before hugging Lu Yi's arm, cooing, Thank you, brother. You're the best. Yunzai, on the other hand, nodded earnestly. Lu Yi indeed is very good. Donggong Mingyue jolted and glared at Yunzai. That has nothing to do with you. He's my brother. Lu Yi looked at the food-protective Donggong Mingyue and then at the unfinished task, feeling somewhat confused. When you get down to it, doesn't this attitude from Donggong Mingyue imply she has feelings for him? Lu Yi couldn't quite understand. Or is it that affection and love are different? Or maybe some other condition hasn't been fulfilled? Lu Yi realized that the task of making someone fall in love with him seemed like a bit of a pitfall. If only there were more detailed instructions, or if it directly showed progress, that would be great. After much coaxing, Lu Yi finally managed to soothe Donggong Mingyue and brought the 2 women back to the cave mansion, where they had some spiritual wine and spirit food before he sent them off. Once the 2 had left, Lu Yi immediately felt peace by his ears. For some reason, he wondered if the 2 women were naturally confrontational, always bickering when together. To put it more accurately, it was Donggong Mingyue who always seemed to enjoy arguing with Yunzai. But Yunzai's nature was straightforward and honest, saying whatever was on her mind, often leaving Donggong Mingyue frustrated and breathless. Lu Yi actually found it somewhat amusing. Isn't this just a classic case of being weak but loving to argue? Early the next morning, as Lu Yi was cultivating, a familiar voice rang out. Lu Yi, Han Yu requests an audience. Lu Yi opened his eyes, pleasantly surprised. He hadn't expected Han Yu to come as well. Did this mean that Cold Winter Valley was willing to ally with White Cloud Sect? And with Han Yu's arrival, didn't that mean he had another opportunity for task rewards? He just didn't know whether Han Yu had managed to break through to the Golden Core realm or not. Lu Ye hurried out to greet her. Chapter 155, 98 Foundation Establishment Level 11. Outside the cave mansion, Lu Ye met Han Yu, and surprisingly, Jiang Fan, Bai Yulong, and Tai Man were also present. Fellow Taoist Han Yu has come. Welcome. How come the three senior brothers are together with Han Yu? Jiang Fan smiled and said, we met by chance on the road, and seeing that fellow Taoist Han Yu wanted to see you, we brought him over. Lu Ye suddenly said, if that's the case, then please come in. The four followed Lu Ye into the cave mansion, where he naturally brought out fine wine and spirit food to entertain them. Through their conversation, Lu Ye understood that Han Yu had indeed come with the supreme elder of Cold Winter Valley. Unlike the sect leader of 10,000 Flowers sect, Cold Winter Valley was not too keen on forming an alliance. However, Han Yu kept persuading them, and hearing that 10,000 Flowers sect also intended to ally with White Cloud sect, Cold Winter Valley changed its mind. Lu Ye raised his cup towards Han Yu with a light laugh and said, thanks to fellow Taoist Han Yu's persuasion, this cup is for you. Han Yu smiled, fellow Taoist Lu Ye is too courteous. You have saved me so many times in the East Forest ruins. This matter is trivial and not worth mentioning. Afterward, they discussed the recent warfare within the White Cloud sect's territory. Unlike Lu Ye, Jiang Fan, Bai Yulong, and Tai Man often went on tasks. Bai Yulong's eyes sparkled as he spoke. The rewards for killing Blood Spirit sect disciples are too generous. Can you believe it, junior brother Lu? Killing a Blood Spirit sect disciple at the First Layer Foundation establishment grants 2 bottles of high-grade Qi gathering pills. That was completely unimaginable before. Lu Ye was also quite surprised to hear Bai Yulong's words. Although for Lu Ye, 2 bottles of high-grade Qi gathering pills were nothing of importance. But that was only for him. For the average disciple, those at the Foundation establishment realm generally used mid-grade Qi gathering pills. High-grade Qi gathering pills would at most be used for breaking through realms when trying to advance. Otherwise, it would be too extravagant. Unexpectedly, now killing a Blood Spirit sect disciple at the First Layer Foundation establishment yielded such generous rewards. This time, the White Cloud sect must be bleeding heavily. Even though the sect was big and wealthy, such expenditure was still quite staggering. Lu Ye felt somewhat moved inside. No matter the world, warfare always seemed to be about money. Recently, Jiang Fan and the others had killed quite a few Foundation establishment cultivators, garnering many resources. Their cultivation speed was thus quite impressive. Jiang Fan had moved up from the 3rd layer Foundation establishment to the 4th layer within a year. Bai Yulong and Tai Man also made progress, advancing to the 2nd level Foundation establishment. Although their cultivation speed couldn't compare to Lu Ye's, it was much faster than that of the average cultivator. Lu Ye tried putting out sparring session offers with the 3 senior brothers and found the rewards for the tasks did improve as their cultivation base did. However, for the current Lu Ye, they were hardly enough. It was only the Water Intent Realm reward from senior brother Jiang Fan that was still quite useful to Lu Ye. To Lu Ye's surprise was Han Yu, who, like Yunzai, had improved his cultivation base to the Golden Core realm, offering particularly lavish rewards. 1 drop of Centennial Spirit Marrow, and the Heart of Ice Conception. After conversing for a while, Lu Ye could hardly wait to propose a sparring match. With Lu Ye's strength, proposing sparring was naturally welcomed by Han Yu. Thus they sparred together until evening, discover stories with Empire. After Han Yu's spiritual energy was depleted, Lu Ye sparred with Jiang Fan, and when Jiang Fan's spiritual energy ran out, he would spar with Bai Yulong and Tai Man. Although Bai Yulong and Tai Man's task rewards were no longer substantial, since there was idle time anyway, Lu Ye naturally didn't want to miss out. The 4 worked in rotations, resting and recovering with meditation, then continuing the fight once they had recovered. Lu Ye, however, always stood in place, his spiritual energy as if boundless, never weakening. As dusk fell, and Han Yu and the others were completely exhausted on the ground, drenched in sweat and numb in expression. Han Yu, with his white hair and delicate features, wore a look of utter desolation as he silently watched Lu Ye. Fellow Taoist Lu Ye, doesn't your spiritual energy ever run out? Bai Yulong was even more forthright, lying on the ground and barely keeping his tongue in. He called out weakly, "Junior brother Lu, are you even human? We've been fighting all day, and you don't even need to recover." Even someone as carefree as Jiang Fan kept smiling wryly. Junior brother Lu Yi, is your spiritual energy like a bottomless pit? Tai Man, more straightforward and honest, having exerted the most strength, now lay motionless on the ground, lacking even the energy to speak. Lu Yi couldn't help but feel helpless inside. With their intensity of battle, the rate at which Lu Yi's energy naturally recovered exceeded their consumption rate. How could he possibly need to meditate for recovery? He chose not to say that, to avoid dealing too great a blow to their morale and affecting their Tao heart. With a slight smile, he said, "The cultivation technique I practice was given by my master and is of high level. Plus, my foundation establishment is very solid, so I have a lot more spiritual energy than the average foundation establishment cultivator. That's why I can hold out." This is a lot more than a foundation establishment cultivator. It's more like a lot more than a golden core cultivator, retorted Bai Yulong. Lu Yi just smiled without further comment. To be honest, what Bai Yulong said wasn't wrong. After resting, Lu Yi treated them to another meal of spirit food and wine, and only then did the four leave, agreeing to often spar together in the days to come. Lu Yi was very satisfied. From today's day of sparring, he had gained over 20 drops of centennial spirit marrow and dozens of drops of myriad spirit dew, as well as a substantial amount of millennium spirit dew. Not to mention, both his heart of ice and water intent had improved significantly. Chapter 156, 98 Foundation Establishment Level 11-2. One could say the harvest was quite substantial. Just the centennial spirit marrow alone was enough to keep Lu Yi happy for a long time. Lu Yi couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Indeed, sparring with geniuses brought the greatest benefits. And Xianxia too. It seems he needed to spar with her often as well. In the following days, Lu Yi spent his nights cultivating, and his days were mostly spent in sparring sessions. Xianxia and Han Yu would visit Lu Yi's cave mansion almost every day, and Jiang Fan and his two friends were not shy, following them there to freeload food and drinks given their relationship. Lu Yi, of course, was welcoming. Just Han Yu and Xianxia alone, even if they sparred in turns, couldn't recover quickly enough. Adding Jiang Fan and the others, often they would all end up exhausted. One could only say that Lu Yi had too much endurance. A month later, the combined policy of White Cloud Sect, 10,000 Flowers Sect, and Cold Winter Valley was finally determined. Han Yu and Xianxia said their farewells to Lu Yi, and after a grand bout of drinking, they each went their separate ways. Your journey continues at Empire. In this month's time, sparring with Lu Yi daily, they both had quite a few insights under Lu Yi's pressure. Moreover, to nurture them, Lu Yi had given them some of the suitable spiritual liquid and centennial spirit milk he had obtained before, which would help speed up their cultivation. Thus, the rewards Lu Yi would receive in the future would naturally be even better. Even Jiang Fan and his two friends made rapid progress under Lu Yi's stringent demands, improving much faster than their previous pace of cultivation. Of course, the one who gained the most was naturally Lu Yi himself. With the centennial spirit marrow, he obtained thousands of drops in a month, improved his water intent realm to 20%, and his natural realm and heart of ice both to 20%. His strength had greatly improved compared to before. As for the myriad spirit dew and millennium spirit dew, there was an even greater amount. The myriad spirit dew was something Lu Yi could still use. As for the millennium spirit dew, he had given some to Donggong Mingyue and planned to take the rest back for old Lu and his mother to use. The centennial spirit milk he had previously given to them didn't enhance their talents much anymore, so the millennium spirit milk was just right for them. After Xianxia and Han Yu left, Jiang Fan and his friends also bid farewell to Lu Yi, planning to continue taking on tasks and gathering resources. Lu Yi resumed his steady practice every day. Time passed, and 3 months later, Lu Yi broke through to the Foundation Establishment 10th layer, which was normally considered the peak of Foundation Establishment. Of course, for Lu Yi to break the Heavenly Tao limitation, he wasn't at the true peak yet. Upon reaching the Foundation Establishment 10th layer, Lu Yi was full of anticipation as he set a task for himself. I want to break through to the Foundation Establishment 11th layer. Task: break through to the Foundation Establishment 11th layer. Reward: Tao Spirit Pearl ***1. Accept the task, yes, no. Seeing the reward, Lu Yi was pleasantly surprised. Indeed, the reward for breaking through the Heavenly Tao limitation was far greater than the reward for a normal breakthrough. This Tao Spirit Pearl, undoubtedly, was a treasure like the Taoist energy, a heavenly material and earthly treasure to solidify one's foundation, an essential item for Lu Yi's breakthrough to the golden core realm. Lu Yi focused with renewed vigor, continuing to cultivate diligently. 8 months later, Lu Yi reached the peak of the foundation establishment 10th layer. Just like in the Qi cultivation realm, he could feel 2 clear paths before him. One was to directly break through to the golden core realm, and the other was to shatter the heavenly Tao limitation. Lu Yi wasn't surprised that he could directly sense the heavenly Tao limitation, given his impeccable physical body, spiritual power, and spiritual energy. His physical body, fortified by the heavenly thunder true dragon technique, was now comparable to top-grade cultivation treasures, if not stronger. As for spiritual energy, Lu Yi practiced the Immortal scripture, Immortal sword scripture, and had already trained the foundation establishment chapter to level 8. In fact, Lu Yi felt that reaching level 9 was not far off, perhaps just a few months away. Furthermore, Lu Yi's spiritual energy vortex was formed from Taoist energy, making it much more robust than an ordinary cultivator's foundational core. His spiritual power was naturally beyond words, having undergone transformation, and even formed a golden lake. With spiritual power so fearsome, it was not much inferior to a divinity transformation cultivator. In terms of foundational strength, Lu Yi was now more powerful than golden core cultivators. Lu Yi naturally chose the path to break the heavenly Tao limitation, and started to erode the heavenly barrier by consuming myriad spirit dew. The heavenly barrier at the foundation establishment realm was much sturdier than the one at the Qi cultivation realm. Lu Yi could sense a daunting authority emanating from the barrier, a supreme heavenly Tao pressure that regarded all beings as mere ants when viewed from above. Even Lu Yi felt a cold sweat in the face of such pressure. This had nothing to do with strength, but was completely a matter of state of mind. A cultivator with an insufficiently firm state of mind, despite having a solid foundation, might not have the courage to face the daunting heavenly Tao pressure and bravely shatter the heavenly barrier. From another perspective, enduring the heavenly Tao pressure and shattering the heavenly barrier was in itself a form of tempering. It tempered one's will and temperament. Those who could break through the 3 restrictions were generally of unyielding will and incredible determination. Having already shattered the 3 heavenly restrictions in the Qi cultivation realm and tempered his will under the heavenly Tao pressure, plus his full confidence, Lu Yi faced an even stronger heavenly Tao pressure now without any intention of retreat. With unwavering determination, he cycled his spiritual energy repeatedly, transforming it into the immortal sword intent, infused with iridescent colors, repeatedly pounding at the barrier, relentless in his efforts. Chapter 157, 98 Foundation Establishment Level 11-3. 5 days later, Lu Yi finally broke through a slight barrier, and after 10 days, he completely shattered the heavenly Tao limitation and officially stepped into the foundation establishment 11th layer. Having reached the foundation establishment 11th layer, Lu Yi's cultivation base surged once again, and his strength was also greatly enhanced. Unfortunately, he did not have an opponent to fully exert his strength on at the moment, as he was neither venturing outside the sect nor going all out in the trial tower. After his breakthrough to the foundation establishment 11th layer, Lu Yi remained as calm as usual, merely indulging in a few cups of jade wine before continuing his cultivation. 3 months later, Lu Yi suddenly sensed a powerful aura emerging from all over Ling Luo Peak, as if thunder had been left behind by the world. Lu Yi opened his eyes and streaks of golden sword light twinkled in them. He revealed a faint smile, took a step, and left his cave mansion. Outside Donggong Mingyue's cave mansion, Lu Yi appeared abruptly, and after a while a streak of sword light flashed by, and Liu Ningxuang also appeared. Seeing Lu Yi, Liu Ningxuang smiled and said, "Junior brother, you're here too." Lu Yi smiled and replied, "Junior sister has broken through to the foundation establishment realm. As your senior brother, of course, I have to come and offer my congratulations." Liu Ningxuang smiled faintly, sensing the terrifying power flowing inside Donggong Mingyue's cave mansion, and asked, "I heard that you gave little Mingyue a few drops of thunder spirit elixir." Lu Yi nodded. I've reached foundation establishment, and the thunder spirit elixir doesn't have as great an effect on me as it does on junior sister." Liu Ningxuang sighed. "Little Mingyue is really lucky. Even I didn't have so many heavenly materials and earthly treasures when I first established my foundation." Lu Yi glanced at Liu Ningxuang and said with a laugh, If I had any heavenly materials and earthly treasures suitable for senior sister, I would certainly not be stingy in giving them to senior sister. Liu Ningxuang looked at Lu Yi and responded with a shallow smile. Senior sister will remember that. Just then, the door of the cave mansion opened, and Donggong Mingyue's somewhat arrogant laughter rang out. Ha ha ha, I am indeed a prodigy favored by the heavens. I've broken through to the foundation establishment realm so quickly. However, upon seeing Lu Yi and Liu Ningxuang outside the cave mansion, Donggong Mingyue's smile came to an abrupt stop. She blushed and stammered, Senior brother, senior sister, what are you doing here? Liu Ningxuang chuckled lightly. Naturally, we came to congratulate junior sister on her breakthrough to the foundation establishment realm. Lu Yi gave Donggong Mingyue a thumbs up and said earnestly, Junior sister is indeed a prodigy favored by the heavens. Your senior brother is impressed. Upon hearing this, Donggong Mingyue's smile could not be contained and her eyes squinted. HMPH, of course. Lu Yi, watching the joyous Donggong Mingyue, muttered to himself, I must defeat Donggong Mingyue. Task: defeat Donggong Mingyue. Reward: 30 drops of myriad spirit dew, enhancement of thunder intent realm. Accept the task, yes, no. Lu Yi looked at the task and grinned. The rewards were much better, but still not enough. He said with a smile, I hope junior sister continues to strive hard and breaks through to the golden core realm quickly. The smile on Donggong Mingyue's face froze instantly, and she opened her eyes wide, incredulously looking at Lu Yi. I just made my foundation establishment breakthrough. How could I possibly advance to the golden core realm so quickly? What are you thinking? You yourself haven't advanced that quickly. Upon hearing this, Lu Yi coughed dryly and began. I've already reached the foundation establishment 11th layer. Donggong Mingyue. Her expression stiffened, looking at Lu Yi with disbelief as if seeing a demon. Even Liu Ningxuang, who was standing by, no longer had her cool demeanor and looked at Lu Yi with some astonishment. Junior brother, you've already reached the foundation establishment 11th layer. Lu Yi nodded slightly. Yeah, I just broke through a few days ago. How come I did not sense any aura? Lu Yi smiled. Didn't I spend some time learning about formations recently? I made some progress and set up a formation in the cave mansion to block some of the aura. East Palace Mingyue. Liu Ningxuang glanced at the baffled East Palace Mingyue and couldn't help but sigh, saying, Junior brother is a genius graced by heaven. Lu Yi smiled modestly. I just worked a bit harder, that's all. East Palace Mingyue stood silently to the side, not daring to speak anymore, looking thoroughly cowed. Liu Ningxuang looked at her and couldn't help but reveal a slight smile. Lu Yi glanced at East Palace Mingyue and laughed. Since junior sister has made a breakthrough, we must celebrate. I'll prepare something tasty. Yeah. East Palace Mingyue suddenly came back to life full of energy. Lu Yi made some food in East Palace Mingyue's cave mansion and also took out some jade wine. Now that East Palace Mingyue had broken through to the foundation establishment realm, she could enjoy this wine too. Those on the path of cultivation often spend their time in seclusion and training, living very quiet lives. It's rare to have time to gather with friends and family, so toasting and drinking together is a joy. Of course, for Lu Yi and his two companions, who were close cultivation siblings, the time to meet was even more frequent, yet there were still endless topics to discuss. Most of the discussions were about cultivation, but they also talked about recent events. Liu Ningxuang softly began. Recently, after our White Cloud sect formed an alliance with the other two sects, we've gradually been suppressing the combined forces of the Blood Spirit sect and the Heavenly Snake sect. Now the Blood Spirit sect has its hands full and rarely has the chance to cause trouble within the territory of our White Cloud sect. Lu Yi took a hearty drink of wine and laughed. That's good news. The disciples of the Blood Spirit sect have committed many evil acts within the territory of our White Cloud sect. Now, our territory finally has the opportunity to recuperate and rejuvenate. East Palace Mingyue frowned and snorted lightly. It would be best if we could strike at their home base and annihilate their sect. Liu Ningxuang shook her head. The strength of the Blood Spirit sect and the Heavenly Snake sect is not weaker than our White Cloud sect, and their protective formations are extremely powerful. Even with the alliance of the three sects, attacking their mountain gate would be impossible. Formations. Lu Yi's gaze flickered with thought. He had cultivated quite a number of formations, and felt his level of mastery should be quite acceptable. It was just that he was unsure of the level of the sect protection array. If he could break through the sect protection array, then it might be worth considering flattening the mountain gates of the Blood Spirit sect and the Heavenly Snake sect. Lu Yu was no saint who repaid grievance with virtue. Since the Blood Spirit sect and the Heavenly Snake sect both sought his life, he certainly wasn't stingy with his counterattack. If he could kill them, that would naturally be for the best. When the chance arose, he could try to test the protective sect formation of his own sect to get a baseline in his heart. Lu Yu noted this matter in his mind. But at present, he was unable to leave the sect anyway. After all, the people from the Blood Spirit sect and the Heavenly Snake sect were always watching for him, the immortal seed of the White Cloud sect. He couldn't tell if someone was laying in wait for him outside. Neither his master nor the Divinity Transformation elders were willing to let him leave the sect to prevent any accidents. Lu Yu could understand their concerns. Besides, he was not in a rush at the moment. Up to now, there was still some myriad spirit dew remaining. Coupled with the thousands of drops of centennial spirit marrow he had just obtained, Lu Yu was not short on resources. He was well supplied in terms of cultivation techniques and arts, and with no need to take on tasks outside, the idea of leaving the sect didn't cross his mind. First, he would use up the resources to improve his cultivation base. Then, he could consider a visit to the lairs of the Heavenly Snake sect and the Blood Spirit sect. As they were chatting, suddenly a powerful presence emerged in the distance, and a loud shout arose. Hearing the name of the White Cloud sect's immortal seed, I have come to exchange pointers. Hearing this voice, the faces of Lu Yu and the others slightly changed, and a glint of coldness appeared in their eyes. To shout so loudly outside the White Cloud sect was a disrespectful act, clearly disregarding their sect. Stay tuned for updates on Empire. Chapter 158, 99 Great Success, Sword Intent Shocks Divinity Transformation. The three exchanged glances and Liu Ningxuang spoke up. Let's go out and see. Lu Yu nodded. Donggong Mingyue immediately exclaimed. How dare they shout and yell like that? They have no regard for our White Cloud sect at all. The three left the cave mansion and flew toward the source of the noise. Outside the gates of the White Cloud sect, three figures hovered in the sky, two elders and one young man. Read the latest on Empire. The two old men exuded an unfathomable and deep presence, extremely powerful and terrifying. The young man was handsome, high-spirited, and his eyes were sharp, projecting a fierce light while his aura was formidable. Who dares to cause such a commotion outside the gates of my White Cloud sect? A voice called out as a nascent soul realm elder soared into the sky. His gaze swept over, and upon seeing the two elders, the expression of the nascent soul elder shifted slightly. Divinity Transformation Cultivators. The nascent soul elder's expression became grave as he looked at the two persons, then glanced at the young man in the center and frowned. I wonder why the two seniors would allow a junior to provoke our White Cloud sect at our very gates. The young man in the center looked at the nascent soul elder and said, I am Zhu Shu from Mingling Valley. I heard that the White Cloud sect has a genius who caused the heavenly tribulation in the Qi cultivation realm, so I came to challenge them. Let your sect's immortal seed come out for a battle. The face of the nascent soul elder shifted slightly. Kinju's Mingling Valley. Zhu Shu was exceedingly proud, indeed. Seeing Zhu Shu's arrogance, the nascent soul elder could not help but frown, but he did not lash out. Although the strength of Kinju's Mingling Valley was not on par with those immortal sect holy lands, it was still a tremendously powerful sect, much stronger than the White Cloud sect, with more than one cave void old monster, and rumors even had it that there was a unification great cultivator who had not yet passed away. However, the nascent soul elder hadn't expected that the news of Lu Yu's talent would spread so quickly beyond the bounds of Qingzhou. For a moment, he was indecisive and said, Everyone, junior nephew Lu Yu is currently in seclusion for cultivation. I need to go inquire. Upon hearing this, Zhu Shu's brow furrowed slightly and he said, I don't have so much time to waste. His name is Lu Yu. Zhu Shu's spiritual energy surged as he shouted loudly, Lu Yu, come out for a battle. Stop hiding within the gates. Impudence? The expression of the nascent soul elder turned unsightly as spiritual energy surged within him, but being locked on by the auras of the two others, he dared not act recklessly. Just then a spirit light flashed, and in the next moment, Wu Qingfeng appeared in the sky. After the three sects joined forces, Wu Qingfeng no longer had to go making trouble in the rear of the Blood Spirit sect, and thus he had the time to come back. The moment he appeared, his overwhelming presence suppressed the two divinity transformation cultivators, causing Zhu Shu's complexion to turn pale, his chest feeling stifled. One of the divinity transformation cultivators from Mingling Valley looked at Wu Qingfeng in surprise and said, "The White Cloud sect actually has such a powerful divinity transformation friend." He positioned himself protectively in front of Zhu Shu without a word. Wu Qingfeng frowned and snorted coldly. "What do the three of you intend by coming to my White Cloud sect? Are you seeking a confrontation?" Seeing such a formidable figure, Zhu Shu did not dare to act too presumptuously, but he remained haughty and said, "I'm just here to challenge your sect's immortal seed. Since he's in seclusion, I guess I'll have to call him out." From afar, numerous powerful elders and disciples rose into the sky and came to check the situation. Hearing Zhu Shu's words, many of the younger disciples glared at him in anger. Who is this kid, so arrogant? From what he said, he seems to be a disciple of Mingling Valley from Kinju, named Zhu Shu. Mingling Valley, isn't that a very strong sect in Kinju? Zhu Shu, I've heard his name. Bai Lingfeng was also present. He slightly furrowed his brow and said, "I have a friend who traveled to Kinju, and he told me that Kinju's Zhu Shu is a very powerful genius, possessing a gold and fire dual spiritual body, and hailed as a once-in-a-millennium prodigy of Mingling Valley. At merely 18, he has already reached the foundation establishment peak, and has even broken through the heavenly Tao limitation. He might not be far behind senior sister Liu Ningxuang in those days, and he could very well become one of the top contenders on the young talents ranking." That's strong. The many disciples were shocked and in awe. This lad heard of junior brother Luya's talents and came to issue a challenge. It's unexpected that junior brother Lu's reputation has spread to Kinju. Lin Xianxia was among them, and she spoke up with a furrowed brow. "Last time at the East Forest ruins, junior brother showed kindness and saved some loose cultivators, and those loose cultivators love to talk about such things, fearing they spread the word." The crowd was abuzz with discussion. "I wonder what junior brother Lu's current strength is. This Zhu Shu seems very strong. Even with my golden core cultivation, I feel a threat to my life when I see him." Hearing this, Lin Xiaoxiao's expression turned odd, and she shook her head slightly. She had personally witnessed Lu Yi slaughter golden core strange beasts effortlessly at the East Forest ruins. Zhu Shu might be incredibly talented, perhaps even stronger than Han Yu and Yun Zai, but in front of Lu Yi, he still wasn't a match. At that moment, 3 streaks of spirit light rapidly crossed the sky, approaching swiftly. It was Lu Yi and his 2 companions. Seeing the 3, everyone's eyes lit up. Junior brother Lu has arrived. It's been a while since we saw junior brother Lu. He's still unparalleled in elegance. Senior sister Liu Ningxuang and junior sister Donggong Ming Yue are with him. The crowd parted to clear a path for Lu Yi and the 2 others. Zhu Shu's gaze swept over them, and upon seeing Lu Yi and the 2, especially the incomparable beauty of Donggong Ming Yue and Liu Ningxuang, he was taken aback for a moment. Then he looked towards Lu Yi, slightly raised his head and said, "You're Lu Yi." Chapter 159, 99 Great Success, Sword Intent Astonishes Divinity Transformation 2. Lu Yi sized up Zhu Shu and said with a light laugh, "That's me." "Very well, let's have a battle. Today, I, Zhu Shu, intend to let the world know that just because someone has induced the heavenly tribulation in the Qi cultivation realm, doesn't necessarily mean they're stronger than others." Zhu Shu's eyes emitted a divine light, sharp as a long sword piercing towards Lu Yi. Lu Yi's expression remained calm, but he was somewhat puzzled inside. Was he really that famous now? He asked curiously, "Aren't you from Kinju? How did you know I caused the heavenly tribulation in the Qi cultivation realm?" "Of course there are rumors about it. Enough talk, come in battle." Zhu Shu was impatient. Lu Yi nodded slightly, muttering to himself, "I need to defeat Zhu Shu." Task: defeat Zhu Shu. Reward: low-grade treasure, golden fire-colored glazed bracelet. Accept yes, no. Emu? Lu Yi was startled and gave the proud Zhu Shu in front of him a strange look. This person, the reward is so generous, a practice task that actually rewards a treasure. Not bad at all. Suddenly, Lu Yi had another excellent idea. Although he hadn't anticipated attracting the challenge of a prodigy from Kinju, accepting such a challenge wasn't unacceptable, was it? After all, those who challenged him must be confident geniuses, and the rewards from such geniuses should not be bad, right? With that in mind, wouldn't he be sitting at home while rewards were delivered to his door? Lu Yi's eyes sparkled, brilliant. It seems that being famous isn't too bad after all. He laughed lightly and said, Since that's the case, let's battle. Hearing Lu Yi's words, Zhu Chu laughed heartily. Good, that's the spirit. Lu Yi spoke, let's not fight at the sect entrance, let's go outside. Saying this, he transformed into a streak of light, flying towards the distance. Zhu Chu naturally followed him. The two divinity transformation cultivators guarding Zhu Chu, fearing some mishap, naturally followed closely behind. Wu Qingfeng, Liu Ningxuang, and others also trailed behind. After they moved away from the White Cloud sect, they stopped. Lu Yi and Zhu Chu stood opposite each other, with other cultivators standing around watching them. Zhu Chu sized up Lu Yi and said, I heard you summon the Qi Cultivation Thunder Tribulation and have the air of an ancient demon. Let me see today if that's truly the case. With a light shout he flipped his hand, and 4 golden circular blades appeared around him, with crimson flames burning on the blades. Enjoy new tales from Empire. The blades spun, emitting a buzzing sound, the flames burning, slightly distorting the space itself. Merely at the peak of Foundation establishment, Zhu Chu's aura was incredibly strong, nearly comparable to Yun Zai and Han Yu, who were now in the golden core stage. Lu Yu was somewhat surprised inside. Upon his arrival, he had heard bits and pieces. It seemed that Zhu Chu was indeed a prodigy of Qingju, quite impressive. It's hard to say about the entire Qingju, but if he were placed within the 5 sects, Zhu Chu would definitely stand as number 1 among the younger generation. Of course, not counting himself. Zhu Chu, noticing that Lu Yi was standing still, his eyes sharpened, and with a stern voice he said, Draw your weapon. Are you looking down on me? Lu Yi laughed lightly and shook his head. No need for weapons, just go ahead and make your move. Seeking death, Zhu Chu's eyes flashed with a hint of ruthlessness, and the 4 golden fire saber wheels shot towards Lu Yi, tracing 4 golden arcs through the air, distorting space and rolling up waves of heat, their momentum terribly fearsome. The cultivators in the distance with weaker cultivation bases changed their expression slightly, unable to withstand such waves of heat, and retreated one after another. Just then Lu Yi stretched out a finger and made a downward swipe. A golden sword light sliced through, tens of meters long, greeting the 4 golden fire saber wheels. The sword light was extremely fierce, like a sword cleaving the heavens, carrying an incredibly terrifying momentum. The leading 2 golden fire saber wheels collided with the sword light almost instantly, dimmed, and were knocked away. Zhu Chu's face changed dramatically, hurriedly controlling the 2 remaining golden fire saber wheels to turn and dodge the golden sword light, which slashed through the air towards Zhu Chu. Zhu Chu roared, his body transforming into a streak of light, evading the sword light. The sword light passed by his side, and the escaping sword intent caused the spiritual energy around Zhu Chu to tremble, the formidable force falling on his magic robe, which shone brightly without damage, but the sword intent still invaded, rattling Zhu Chu's body and causing him to spit out blood. The golden sword light fell to the ground, silent and noiseless, cutting a bottomless crack. How is this possible? The 2 divinity transformation cultivators were wide-eyed, utterly shocked. Zhu could not even block a single blow. The golden sun robe is a low-grade magical treasure, yet it couldn't fully resist the stray sword intent from Lu Yi. His sword intent is even more terrifying than that of a typical cave void cultivator. The 2 divinity transformation cultivators were enormously shaken, exchanging incredulous looks in their eyes. Zhu Chu was even more terrified, turning to look at the sword trace cut by the sword light behind him, feeling icy all over. If that sword strike had hit him, even with a low-grade treasure protecting him, he might not have survived. The sword intent was too tyrannical. Even Wu Qingfeng and Elder Qian, 2 big shots of the White Cloud sect, were stunned. Wu Qingfeng's mouth twitched, looking at the sword trace made by Lu Yi, and he grinned. Elder Ming never told me that Lu Yi's sword intent had reached such a level. Elder Qian nodded repeatedly, looking at Lu Yi with a benevolent face. Very good, very good. Such sword intent, probably already close to great success. If there's a chance, maybe he could congeal his own sword Tao domain before reaching Cave Void, then it's a smooth path before the Mahayana realm. Chapter 160, 99 Great Success. Sword Intent Astonishes Divinity Transformation 3. Lu Yi shook his head and said, You're too weak, you can't even block a single sword. If he were facing Yun Zai and Han Yu, Lu Yi definitely would not be so unsympathetic. Every exchange was cautious, fearing he might damage their path of cultivation since they were all friends after all. But facing Zhu Shu, Lu Ye wouldn't act this way. After all, this scoundrel had dared to shout and scream outside the gates of the White Cloud sect, showing no respect for their sect. Naturally, he had to uphold the sect's dignity. No matter how you put it, the sect leader and others had treated him well, providing him with various resources and access to cultivation techniques and cultivation skills. Even when he was surrounded and nearly killed in the East Forest ruins, although he had managed to counter all the attacks, the sect leader still went out of his way to the Blood Spirit sect and killed 2 divinity transformation supremes to vent his anger. He was a person with emotions too. If the sect treated him well, naturally, he would stand from the sect's perspective. Upon hearing Lu Ye's words, Zhu Shu's face alternated between ashen and white. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. He had only been sustaining himself by sheer willpower after the previous passing out and the sword intent invading his body. Seeing this, 2 divinity transformation cultivators from Mingling Valley changed their expressions and quickly stepped forward to support Zhu Shu. Shu? Both of them gave Lu Ye a cold look, with one saying coldly, "To possess such sword intent at the Foundation establishment realm, indeed, it is a good technique. It seems the geniuses of Mingling Valley are not skilled enough." Lu Ye remained unconcerned and chuckled lightly. "Be a bit more polite next time you visit the sect, and I might spare you some mercy." "You?" The expressions of the 2 divinity transformation cultivators immediately turned icy, and they glared at Lu Ye angrily. Wu Qingfeng and Elder Qian stood beside Lu Ye nonchalantly, ready to prevent the 2 divinity transformation cultivators from suddenly attacking. Wu Qingfeng said with a smile, "An exchange of blows is expected to have winners and losers. This time, please accept our apology." The 2 divinity transformation cultivators took a deep look at the 3 men, then snorted coldly and left, supporting the unconscious Zhu Shu. After seeing them leave, Wu Qingfeng laughed heartily and patted Lu Ye on the shoulder, speaking, "Well done, kiddo Lu, well done. Those 2 old things have been condoning their juniors' disrespect towards our White Cloud sect. They really needed a good lesson." Lu Ye smiled. "As long as the sect leader doesn't think I'm making enemies for the sect, it's fine." HMPH, they have acted thusly. Not to retaliate would make others think our White Cloud sect is weak and bully-worthy. Wu Qingfeng waved his hand, not caring at all. Elder Qian, on the other hand, was a bit worried and said, "Mingling Valley after all is a great sect, with cave void powerhouses stationed within. It might be somewhat dangerous." Wu Qingfeng dismissed it with a wave of his hand. "Mingling Valley is indeed strong, but there are also powerful enemies in Kinju, and besides, Kinju and Kingju are 1,000,000 miles apart. Just for the sake of one exchange, they will not muster such a large force. And our White Cloud sect also has its foundations. Even if a cave void cultivator truly attacks, could he really annihilate our sect?" Elder Qian thought about it and felt there was reason in it, nodding slightly without saying more. The disciples listening behind Wu Qingfeng were all filled with blood-boiling excitement. The sect was willing to protect its disciples, who wouldn't feel secure. The thing they feared most was a sect that would abandon its disciples at the first sign of trouble. Such sects chilled the heart. Seeing Lu Ye actually overpower a prodigy from Kinju, the disciples were also immensely shocked. Junior brother Lu Ye's strength has increased a lot. His sword intent is simply overwhelming and irresistible. Yes, didn't Elder Qian say it? That was already nearing the great success of sword intent. Junior brother Lu is only at the Foundation establishment realm, yet his sword intent is comparable to those of the Sword Tao sages of the Cave Void realm, isn't it? What's truly terrifying is that junior brother Lu Ye is currently only at the Foundation establishment realm. His sword Tao cultivation has already reached such a level. It's hard to imagine what heights his swordsmanship will achieve once he reaches the Golden Core or even the nascent Soul realm. He might even be able to condense a sword Tao domain. It's truly shocking. Junior brother Lu undoubtedly possesses the traits of an ancient prodigy. It's not just an empty talk. Zhu Shu left, and as the matter concluded, everyone else also departed. Lu Ye, Liu Ningxuang, and Dongao Mingyue flew together toward Ling Luo Peak. Liu Ningxuang looked at Lu Ye with her cold eyes, surprised. Junior brother's sword intent is truly powerful. It's almost reached great success, hasn't it? Lu Ye smiled. Indeed it has. During this period, Lu Ye still visited Elder Ming every month to listen to Elder Ming explain the sword Dao. Initially, Lu Ye just listened, but as time passed, his sword Dao grew stronger, even being able to discuss it with Elder Ming. Now, Lu Yi's sword intent had reached over 60%, nearly on a par with Elder Ming. This astonished Lu Yi, as Elder Ming was only at the divinity transformation realm and hadn't even broken through to the cave void realm, yet he possessed such powerful sword intent. It must be said that Elder Ming himself was also a swordsmanship genius. Unfortunately, his cultivation talent was not very good. If he could break through to the cave void realm, his combat power would probably be extremely formidable. In the cave void realm, he would definitely be considered a formidable contender. Now, as Lu Yi's sword Tao realm grew higher, the sword intent he gained from listening to Elder Ming was slowing down. To reach perfection, it might still take a long time. Hearing this, Liu Ningxuang exclaimed, "Junior brother's progress is too great. It might not take long before you catch up to me." Donggong Mingyue, standing nearby, was even more proud, patting Lu Yi on the shoulder. "Worthy of being my senior brother. Impressive. I believe that senior brother will quickly realize sword intent to the perfection realm and then break through to the sword Tao domain." Upon hearing this, Lu Yi thought of his thunder intent realm. His thunder intent realm had also reached over 60%, all improved by sparring with his junior sister. Although their sparring didn't offer as much improvement as one of Elder Ming's explanations, the frequency of their matches meant that his thunder intent realm also grew rapidly. However, after reaching 60%, it seemed he had entered a different realm, and progressing further became much more challenging. Raising his thunder intent realm to perfection would probably also take a long time. Thinking of his thunder intent realm, Lu Yi also thought of the task of making his junior sister fall in love with him. The reward was 40% of thunder intent realm. If he could complete this task, his thunder intent realm would likely be directly perfected, and he might then be able to condense a thunder domain and become invincible. If he could condense a thunder domain at the foundation establishment realm, Lu Yi might even go toe-to-toe with nascent soul cultivators. If he broke through to the golden core, facing divinity transformation cultivators, Lu Yi wouldn't even flinch. Unfortunately, the task seemed dead, as he had no idea how to complete it. Thinking of this, Lu Yi looked at Donggong Mingyue with a very complex expression. "Stay updated via Empire." Donggong Mingyue widened her eyes, full of confusion. "Senior brother, why are you looking at me like that?" Lu Yi shook his head, speaking softly, "It's nothing." Just then, Lu Yi was struck by a bold idea that might allow his sword intent to improve faster. Chapter 161, 100. Sword Heart awakens thanks to Alliance Leader Chinese letter for the reward. Since the task involved Elder Ming, and the rewards were substantial, if he could help Elder Ming enhance his strength, would the rewards for Elder Ming's task become even more substantial? In that case, listening to Elder Ming's teachings would surely allow him to rapidly elevate his own sword intent. Moreover, Lu Yi had observed that Elder Ming seemed to age more with each passing year, probably only having a decade or so left, at most a few decades. For a divinity transformation cultivator, that is an exceedingly short amount of time. Unless something unexpected happened, Elder Ming would certainly die of old age. Lu Yi did not wish for that. Elder Ming had been like a mentor to him, caring for him as an elder would for a younger relative, and naturally, Lu Yi wanted to help Elder Ming make a breakthrough so he could live longer. Previously, Lu Yi might not have been able to help much, but now that might not be the case. His current reward included Centennial Spirit Marrow. Spirit Marrow, a treasure for cultivation, could even help a divinity transformation cultivator enhance his cultivation base and innate talent. If he had enough Centennial Spirit Marrow, Elder Ming should be able to break through his cultivation base and reach the cave void realm. After all, the cave void realm required one to understand the conception of heaven and earth, and Elder Ming had already achieved the most challenging threshold. What truly trapped Elder Ming was the bottleneck in his cultivation, which was relatively easier to break through. Lu Yi thought about the Centennial Spirit Marrow he currently possessed, still having over 1,000 drops. He planned to find an opportunity to bring some to Elder Ming to see the effects. Tomorrow would be about time to discuss the Sword Dao with Elder Ming again, and he planned to bring it then. Lu Yi had made up his mind. The three of them returned to Ling Luo Peak, and each headed back to their respective cave mansions. Lu Yi checked out the reward he had received this time. The golden fire-colored glaze bracelet, a bracelet interwoven with red and gold, looked extremely lavish and extraordinary. This artifact of auxiliary type could enhance the cultivation speed of practitioners with gold element spiritual bodies and fire element spiritual bodies, and also enhance their sensibility to gold and fire elements. For cultivators practicing gold-based Taoist skill and fire-based Taoist skill, its value could even exceed that of a high-grade treasure. Unfortunately, Lu Yi had mastered many conceptions, but gold and fire conceptions were not among them. Even so, Lu Yi couldn't help but sigh in admiration, thinking Zhu Shu really was a bringer of fortune. Such a treasure was incredibly precious. Lu Yi shook his head and stored the golden fire-colored glaze bracelet, planning to use it another time. After that, Lu Yi continued his cultivation. The next morning, Lu Yi left Ling Luo Peak and headed for the book storage pavilion. In the book storage pavilion, Lu Yi saw Elder Ming leisurely lying on a rocking chair and smiled. "Elder Ming, I'm here." Elder Ming's once grayish-white hair had now turned completely white, and his face sported more wrinkles. His aura exuded a feeling of decay. From every aspect, the legendary swordsman of the divinity transformation realm was officially entering his twilight years, no longer possessing his former vigor and spirit. Seeing Lu Yi, Elder Ming's eyes brightened and he showed a genial smile. "Kiddo Lu, you're always so punctual. Come, have a bowl of wine first." Lu Yi smiled and poured a bowl of jade wine for Elder Ming. The fragrance was so strong that nearby cultivators couldn't help but look over, swallowing their saliva in envy, yet not daring to approach. Lu Yi used spiritual energy to float the bowl towards Elder Ming, without a single ripple in the wine. Elder Ming took it and chuckled lightly. "You boy, your control over spiritual energy is truly admirable." Lu Yi smiled helplessly. "Elder Ming, you're too kind. I've given you quite a bit of jade wine, but I've never seen you drink it regularly." Elder Ming drank his bowl and laughed heartily. As one gets older, drinking alone always feels a bit lonely. Good wine is best shared with the right company. Lu Yi also smiled. "Here's to you, Elder." Elder Ming poured himself another bowl and drank it all in one go, then sighed. "I heard you defeated a prodigy from Kinju with a single sword strike yesterday." Lu Yi nodded. "That small news has reached you." Elder Ming laughed. "A heavenly seed of the White Cloud sect taking action is no small matter within the sect. Enjoy exclusive adventures from Empire." Lu Yi took a sip of wine. "Fame, too, can be a kind of trouble." "Ha ha ha, you kid, others would kill for it." Elder Ming shook his head and then sighed. "Your talent in the sword Dao is higher than I imagined. In just a few years, you've already caught up to my thousands of years of insight truly." Elder Ming sighed deeply. "In the world of swordsmanship, I have admired only a few. One is the sword Taoist who wielded a wooden sword to slay an immortal, and the other is the old master of the divine sword sect who suppressed the heavenly demon with the heavenly Tao sword. Now, you are the third." He sighed again. "I, Nan Liuming, consider myself exceptional in sword talent, but compared to you, I am no different from ordinary people." Lu Yi felt somewhat embarrassed and chuckled. "Elder Ming, you are too modest. Mastering 60% of sword intent at the divinity transformation realm is incredibly rare, already a sword Tao monster. Once you enter the cave void realm, you can transform overnight, changing the world around you." "Cave void realm. Easier said than done," Elder Ming chuckled softly. "If it were so easy to break through, I wouldn't have been stuck here for 3,000 years. Lu Yi paused, then chuckled lightly. "Elder Ming, I found some treasures in the East Forest ruins a few days ago that I can't use yet, but you might find them useful." Chapter 162, 100. Sword Heart awakens thanks to the Grandmaster reward from Chinese letter 2. Upon hearing these words, Elder Ming was startled, glanced at Lu Yi, and chuckled lightly. "Kiddo, you sure have the heart, but how rare are heavenly materials and earthly treasures that could assist a divinity transformation cultivator in breaking through. Just save yourself the trouble, young man." Lu Yi smiled, his voice carried through a private transmission. "Centennial spirit marrow, could it help a divinity transformation cultivator break through?" Hearing this, Elder Ming's body trembled. His eyes widened with disbelief as he looked at Lu Yi and exclaimed in shock, "What did you say?" He glanced around at the disciples, took a deep breath to calm his emotions and transmitted privately, "Kiddo Lu, what did you say? You actually obtained centennial spirit marrow." Seeing Elder Ming's excited demeanor, Lu Yi felt reassured. It seemed that the effects of the centennial spirit marrow were even better than he had imagined. Lu Yi had always cultivated using spirit milk, and even though he thought the centennial spirit marrow was quite good, He hadn't thought it to be particularly rare. Now it seemed that his regular cultivation resources were already quite precious, which was why he had that impression. For average cultivators, even for divinity transformation cultivators, centennial spirit marrow was an extremely precious treasure. Lu Yi smiled faintly, his transmission sounded, "Yes, fortuitously obtained." Elder Ming took a deep breath, hesitated for a moment, and then looked at Lu Yi. "How much do you have? If it's not enough, it won't be of much use." Lu Yi thought it over, gritted his teeth, and said, "Roughly 1,000 drops." For himself, heavenly materials and earthly treasures like centennial spirit marrow could be earned through tasks at any time if he so desired. 1,000 drops of centennial spirit marrow, although precious, were something he was naturally willing to offer if it could help Elder Ming break through. Continue reading at Empire. Upon hearing this, Elder Ming's breath visibly fluctuated with disbelief as he stared at Lu Yi. 1,000 drops. You actually have more than 1,000 drops. His gaze flickered rapidly. His expression was excited, yet hesitant. He transmitted, "Kiddo Lu, do you realize how precious centennial spirit marrow is? 1,000 drops of centennial spirit marrow could transform an ordinary cultivator into a cultivation genius akin to one with an acquired spiritual body. The spiritual energy within is enough to enable a mortal to cultivate to the nascent soul peak, or even reach the divinity transformation realm. Are you truly willing to give it to this old man?" Lu Yi smiled with ease, his voice transmitted, "Elder Ming, you have graced me with the teaching of the sword Tao. Without your comprehensive explanations, how could my sword intent have improved so smoothly? Since you care so much for me, how can I remain unmoved? Merely 1,000 drops of centennial spirit marrow. With my talent, even without it, I am more than capable of surmounting any bottleneck and forging ahead. If I were reluctant to offer it to you, I wouldn't have mentioned it. If it is truly of use to you, Elder, please take it." Hearing this, Elder Ming fell silent for a moment, and then he drew a deep breath, a stern look appearing on his aged face. He slowly spoke, his voice spreading throughout the book storage pavilion. "The book storage pavilion is closed, everyone leave." With a wave of his hand, supreme power surged, dragging out cultivators who were selecting cultivation skills within the pavilion and tossing them outside, including 2 perplexed nascent soul elders. All the disciples and elders, filled with question marks, looked bewildered at Elder Ming. "Elder Ming, what is this about?" a nascent soul elder asked tentatively, filled with confusion. Elder Ming glanced at him and said, "I have gained a slight enlightenment and need to go into seclusion for a while. I will explain it personally to the sect leader later. Please, leave for now." The 2 nascent soul elders looked at each other. Then one of them bowed and said, "So that's it. Congratulations to Elder Ming on your enlightenment." Then the 2 nascent soul elders ushered the other disciples away. Quickly, the book storage pavilion was emptied of people, leaving only Lu Yi and Elder Ming. Elder Ming looked at Lu Yi with a serious expression and asked, "Kiddo Lu, think carefully. Are you really willing to give this old man the centennial spirit marrow?" Lu Yi smiled and simply took out the jade bottle containing the centennial spirit marrow, handing it over to Elder Ming. Unlike spirit milk, which was a white liquid, spirit marrow had begun to solidify into a white pasty substance. Even through the jade bottle, a trace of spiritual energy could be sensed escaping, refreshing the soul. Elder Ming, seeing Lu Yi produce the spirit marrow, fell silent for a moment before smiling. "This old fellow is not as open-minded as you, youngster." He took the spirit marrow, looked at Lu Yi, and suddenly a razor-sharp aura burst forth from him as though the sword heart had awakened, and he said with a laugh, "With these centennial spirit marrow, I will certainly achieve the cave void. Kiddo, just wait for the good news." Lu Yi, feeling that invincible sword intent, revealed a smile. "Then here I am, first congratulating Elder Ming." "You may go, I need to enter seclusion now," said Elder Ming, hardly able to wait. Lu Yi nodded and left the book storage pavilion. Just as he stepped out of the pavilion, Lu Yi saw several figures flying rapidly from a distance, landing on the plaza. Wu Qingfeng and several others from the Elder Qian, their presence deep and abyssal, all of them divinity transformation cultivators. Upon seeing Lu Yi, they were all taken aback. Wu Qingfeng moved forward, furrowing his brow. "Kiddo Lu, do you know why Elder Ming has closed the book storage pavilion?" The book storage pavilion was fundamental to the sect, of utmost importance, and any misstep could critically damage the foundation of the White Cloud sect. Chapter 163, 100. Sword Heart awakens thanks to the Grandmaster reward from Chinese letter 3. Experience tales at Empire. Just as Elder Ming had planned to close the book storage pavilion, the sect leader and other divinity transformation cultivators came over directly. Lu Yu was not at all surprised by this. He smiled and said, "Sect leader, you should ask Elder Ming yourself." Hearing this, Wu Qingfeng looked at Lu Yi with some confusion. "I always feel like you know something, kid." However, he didn't think too much about it, and entered the book storage pavilion with Elder Qian and a few others. Lu Yi shook his head and turned to leave. Although he had reluctantly given up so much centennial spirit marrow, it would definitely be a lie to say he wasn't distressed. Fortunately, he still had a lot of myriad spirit due, which should be enough for him to cultivate to the golden core realm. Afterwards, he planned to spar with a few geniuses like senior brother Zai Tianming and senior brother Nangong Moyu to gain cultivation resources. That shouldn't be a problem. Not long after Lu Yi left the book storage pavilion, he felt a powerful aura emanating from inside. Lu Yi turned around and saw several divinity transformation cultivators rising into the air, their aura fluctuating, clearly feeling excited. It must be that the sect leader had received the news. Was Elder Ming planning to seclude himself to break through to the cave void realm? If Elder Ming were truly to break through to the cave void realm, it would be a tremendous boon for the entire White Cloud sect. A sect that housed a cave void realm cultivator would see its influence rise significantly. At the very least, the Blood Spirit sect and the Heavenly Snake sect definitely wouldn't dare to bare their fangs at White Cloud sect. Lu Yi returned to his cave mansion and continued his cultivation. Time passed peacefully, and after breaking through to the Foundation Establishment 11th layer, his cultivation speed had slowed down considerably. Over a year later, Lu Yi finally broke through to the Foundation Establishment 12th layer. In contrast, because Donggong Mingyue was at the Qi Cultivation 13th layer of Foundation Establishment, her foundation was incredibly solid. She broke through to the Foundation Establishment realm, and in just over a year, leaped across 3 minor levels to reach the Foundation Establishment 4th layer. Her cultivation speed was extremely fast, which pleased her greatly. Lu Yi released a task and found that the task reward hadn't changed much, just a few more drops of myriad spirit due. It was marginally better than nothing, and he could only hope she would continue to make progress and break through to the golden core realm soon. The reward for breaking through to the Foundation Establishment 12th layer was 3 Tao Spirit Pearls. The reward was equally generous, and Lu Yi happily accepted it. He then continued his cultivation. Occasionally, Lu Yi would dine with senior sister Liu Ningxuang and junior sister Donggong Mingyue to strengthen their camaraderie. One day, Jiang Fan and his companions returned from their journey outside and came to mooch food and drinks from Lu Yi. Outside the cave mansion, the 4 of them ate barbecued meat and drank wine while discussing the outside world. Bai Yulong smiled and said, "Junior brother Lu, it's really exciting out there. Under the joint effort of the 3 sects, we completely suppressed Blood Spirit sect and Heavenly Snake sect. Now, as our disciples chase them down, we hardly need to put in any effort to reap rewards. It's like picking up money." After biting a piece of barbecue, Tai Man said a bit unclearly, "Xiaobai is right. Recently, the 3 of us have earned quite a bit. It's just a pity that you, junior brother Lu, can't go out." Not just earning resources. You don't know, but recently when we were working together with the disciples of 10,000 Flowers sect, I must say, the female cultivators of 10,000 Flowers sect are really tusk, Bai Yulong said with a lewd smile. Jiang Fan mercilessly exposed him. "Too bad you can only look. Every time they talk to you, they're asking about junior brother Lu." Bai Yulong's smile froze, then he defiantly said, "What do you know? With communication, the emotions can gradually build. Ever heard of fondness forming over time?" Tai Man commented, "Speaking of which, junior brother Lu is really the envy of everyone. Even though he's not there, whenever we act together with the disciples of 10,000 Flowers sect, as soon as they know we are close to junior brother Lu, they always ask about his matters." Bai Yulong looked gloomy and despondent. "Junior brother Lu really leaves no room for us." Lu Yi looked innocent. "What does this have to do with me?" Tai Man spoke again. "A while back, the 3 sects teamed up and took down a spirit stone mine from Blood Spirit sect. The harvest was quite significant." Bai Yulong exclaimed, "I heard that deep in the spirit stone mine there might be some spirit milk. The 3 sects made a lot this time." Jiang Fan sipped some jade wine, shook his head lightly, and chuckled. "Junior brother Lu had previously given us some centennial spirit marrow. Ordinary sect cultivators don't have as good conditions as we do. Bai Yulong and Tai Man nodded repeatedly, toasting to Lu Ye. Lu Ye listened to the three of them discuss various news, gaining quite an understanding of the outside situation. Currently, the Blood Spirit sect and the Heavenly Snake sect were in a downturn. Both sects had lost many disciples, and even more than 10 nascent soul elders had perished. This battle could be said to have caused both sects severe injuries. However, that was all. As long as the sects remained, they would eventually recover, perhaps closing off their mountains for some time. With the protection of the sect array, it was difficult for a sect to fall under normal circumstances. During this period, Lu Yi also did not give up on formation cultivation. He thought of finding an opportunity in the future to break the sect arrays of the Blood Spirit sect and the Heavenly Snake sect, thoroughly incapacitating them. Additionally, what puzzled Lu Yi was that since he had defeated Zhu Chu, he had been waiting for other prodigies to challenge him. So much time had passed, and yet no other prodigies had come forward, which disappointed Lu Yi. Afterward, he asked Jiang Fan and the others, and found that there was little news circulating outside about Lu Yi's defeat of Zhu Chu. Even in Qingzhou, let alone other regions. Lu Yi soon realized that since Zhu Chu had returned in such disgrace, Mingling Valley certainly wouldn't widely publicize such an embarrassing event. Although disciples within White Cloud sect might discuss it, it wouldn't spread to other regions so quickly. After understanding this, a realization dawned on Lu Yi. It seemed he would have to wait a while longer for other geniuses to come forward and challenge him. By the way, these days, with the three sects united and their relationship closer than before, it seems they are planning to organize an exchange meeting at 10,000 Flower sect. Junior brother Lu, are you going? Jiang Fan suddenly recalled and asked Lu Yi. Bai Yulong also thought of this and eagerly said, Junior brother Lu, you have to think carefully. That's going to 10,000 Flower sect. If you go there, it would be absolute chaos. Chapter 164, 101. Even if heaven and earth shatter before my eyes. A three-sects exchange meeting. Lu Yi heard this and began to ponder. The idea was quite appealing. It had been a long time since he had seen Yun Zai and Han Yu. If it was an exchange meeting, he wasn't sure if Han Yu would appear, but meeting Yun Zai at the 10,000 Flowers sect would definitely be no problem. When the time came, he could exchange pointers with Yun Zai and gain some resources. Read exclusive chapters at Empire. It was timely, as he only had a little bit of Centennial Spirit marrow left. The rest he had given to Elder Ming. He could take this opportunity to replenish his stock. Now that the Heavenly Snake sect and the Blood Spirit sect were preoccupied with their own troubles, they weren't in the mood to deal with him anymore. Even if they wanted to deal with him, strong individuals would attend the three sects exchange meeting, not just the younger generation. With powerful cultivators present, Lu Yi wouldn't worry about anything. Thinking of this, Lu Yi asked, when will it be? It seems it isn't decided yet, probably in a year or two. Lu Yi nodded slightly and said, I'll go when the time comes. Bai Yulong's eyes lit up, and he looked at Lu Yi with a beaming smile. Junior brother Lu tilde tilde tilde. Lu Yi. A chill ran down his spine and goosebumps rose on his skin as he looked at Bai Yulong speechlessly. Elder brother Bai Yulong, speak properly. Bai Yulong rubbed his hands together and chuckled. Junior brother Lu, when the time comes, you have to back me up. My biggest dream in life is to find a Taoist couple from the 10,000 Flowers sect practitioner. Lu Yi was speechless. Why would I need to support you if you're finding a Taoist couple from the 10,000 Flowers sect? Bai Yulong laughed merrily. Who made you so popular in the 10,000 Flowers sect? With you by my side, practitioners from the 10,000 Flowers sect will think more highly of me. Lu Yi. Having their fill of food and drinks, Lu Yi naturally did not let them freeload. He sparred with the three of them, took some rewards, and then let them leave. In the following days, Lu Yi continued his cultivation. A few days later, Lu Yi finally raised his Immortal sword scripture to the LV9 realm, and his cultivation speed increased once again. A year or so passed, and due to the Immortal sword scripture reaching LV9, Lu Yi's cultivation speed increased once more, and his cultivation base progressed to the Foundation Establishment 13 layer, just a step away from breaking through to the Golden Core realm. He also gained 5 more Tao Spirit Pearls, and planned to use them to condense his own Tao Golden Core when he broke through to the Golden Core realm. 2 more months passed, and while Lu Yi was cultivating, he suddenly felt something in his heart, and his eyes snapped open. His body disappeared from his original spot, and he reappeared in the sky above Ling Luo Peak. In the sky, apart from him, several other cultivators rose into the air one after another, looking towards the direction of the back mountain in shock. These cultivators were primarily nascent soul elders and direct disciples, with a few being golden core realm geniuses. Liu Ningxuang appeared beside Lu Yi. "Junior brother, did you sense it too?" Lu Yi nodded slightly, astonished as he looked in the direction of the back mountain. A heaven-shaking sword intent is faintly emanating from that direction, such a formidable aura. This was the first time Lu Yi had felt such a powerful presence. Even the sect leader at the divinity transformation stage did not give him such a sensation. At that moment, Ling Luo Peak Master suddenly appeared before the two, her eyes still with a trace of sleepiness, misty with a hint of surprise as she looked towards the back mountain. Someone is about to break through to the cave void realm. Judging by the sword intent, it should be Elder Ming. Upon hearing this, Lu Yi was stunned. Then a look of delight appeared on his face. Elder Ming is going to break through to the cave void realm. More than 3 years ago, after Lu Yi had gifted the centennial spirit marrow to Elder Ming, he had been in seclusion ever since, with Elder Qian taking over the guardianship of the book storage pavilion. With no news from Elder Ming for such a long time, Lu Yi had feared that something untoward had happened. Unexpectedly, Elder Ming was about to break through to the cave void realm today. Surprise was evident on Liu Ningxuang's usually cold face. Elder Ming was reaching his twilight years. I didn't think he would be able to break through to the cave void realm. Ling Luo Peak Master nodded slightly, somewhat puzzled. Logically, without a special opportunity, it would be difficult for Elder Ming to break through. Over 3 years ago, he suddenly went into seclusion, probably because he found an opportunity. Then the Ling Luo Peak Master smiled. However, Elder Ming's breakthrough to the cave void realm is good news for the White Cloud sect. Liu Ningxuang and Lu Yi both nodded in agreement. Other nascent soul elders and golden core cultivators, upon hearing this, were also incredibly surprised, nodding their heads in approval. The difference between a sect with a cultivator at the cave void realm and one without is immense. Just then, a sword cry resounded through the heavens and earth. An incredibly fearsome sword intent switched from being restrained to an unsheathed sharp sword. A cutting energy surged towards the skies, as if it could split the heavens and earth in two, leaving everyone chilled to the bone, as if a sharp blade was at their throats. Those cultivators who had not noticed it before were now abruptly awoken and rushed out of their cave mansions. What's going on? Which great cultivator has come to our White Cloud sect? Could it be another genius has come to challenge junior brother Lu? They really don't take our White Cloud sect seriously. The disciples of Ling Luo Peak clamored for a fight, all rising into the sky. Donggong Mingyue also rushed out. Her cultivation base had already progressed to the Foundation Establishment 6th layer, advancing rapidly. After arriving in the sky, she immediately saw Lu Yi and the other two and quickly flew over. "Master, senior brother, senior sister. What has happened?" The lazy voice of the Ling Luo Peak Master echoed through Ling Luo Peak. "Quiet down. It's Elder Ming trying to break through to the cave void realm. Stop this fuss. What kind of decorum is this?" Chapter 165, 101. Even if heaven and earth shatter before my eyes too. Upon hearing these words, everyone fell into a moment of silence before discussions erupted among them, causing a commotion. What? Elder Ming, he's actually going to break through to the cave void realm. I heard Elder Ming has been in seclusion for several years. During this time, even the book storage pavilion was guarded by Elder Qian, so Elder Ming was attempting a breakthrough in seclusion. That's wonderful. Elder Ming, who has mastered the sword intent, is a powerful sword cultivator. Once he breaks through to the cave void realm, even if he is within the cave void realm, he will be a formidable figure, right? Our White Cloud sect is going to soar. Disciples showed faces full of surprise. Donggong Mingyue's expression also stagnated. Then she exclaimed, "Elder Ming is actually going to break through to the cave void realm." Lu Yi nodded slightly, smiling lightly. "That's great. Our White Cloud sect will soon become a sect with a cave void cultivator." Donggong Mingyue was very happy. Boom! During their conversation, a beam of sword light shot up to the sky, transforming into streaming light and flying towards the outside of the sect. As the sword light traveled, the sky suddenly darkened, and dark clouds began to gather at an extremely fast speed, with faint thunder rumbling within them. Seeing this, everyone was stunned. Then someone exclaimed, "It's heavenly tribulation. Elder Ming is going to cross the heavenly tribulation. Let's go and see." Many cultivators flew towards the direction of the heavenly tribulation. Ling Luo Peak Master also spoke, "Let's go together. Observing a great cultivator cross the heavenly tribulation might bring some enlightenment." As she spoke, she glanced at Lu Ye, who was capable of enduring heavenly thunder and achieving sudden enlightenment in cultivation techniques simultaneously. Liu Ningxuang and Donggong Mingyue couldn't help but turn their eyes toward Lu Yi as well. Lu Yi, feeling their gazes, looked innocent. "What's the matter?" The three remained silent. At that moment, Lu Yi thought of something and said to himself, "I want to observe Elder Ming cross the tribulation." Task: continue your journey with Empire. Observe Elder Ming crossing the tribulation. Reward: increase of half a stage in sword intent and thunder intent. Accept yes/no. Upon seeing the reward, Lu Yi was taken aback, then overjoyed. By now, increasing half a stage in sword intent and thunder intent had been taking a long while, and he hadn't expected that a single task could achieve this. The reward was indeed generous. Lu Yi quickly accepted the task. The sword light reached a wasteland outside of the White Cloud Mountain range, and others didn't dare get too close, to avoid being swept into the heavenly tribulation. The cave void thunder tribulation was no joke. Even a divinity transformation cultivator entering it would basically be obliterated directly. Wu Qingfeng and other divinity transformation cultivators were also present. Wu Qingfeng shouted, "Elders, let us together protect Elder Ming." Many divinity transformation elders and nascent soul elders nodded, circling around the dark clouds, surrounding Elder Ming from the inside. The dark clouds spread rapidly from a few hundred meters to several kilometers, and finally stopped after expanding to 80 kilometers. Watching the thunder tribulation spanning 80 kilometers, Wu Qingfeng couldn't help but take in a breath of cold air. 80 kilometers of thunder clouds. This heavenly tribulation is incredibly powerful. Elder Xuan was not even guarding the trial tower. A faint smile appeared on his aging face. Elder Ming has a deep comprehension of the sword intent, and he has probably made further progress during seclusion. With such strength, the heavenly tribulation he attracts is naturally extraordinary. Elder Xuan, do you think there's a chance for Elder Ming to cross the heavenly tribulation? Let's watch, I'm not sure. Elder Xuan sighed softly, his gaze fixated on the figure standing in the center of the thunderstorm like a sword. Lu Yi also watched that figure resembling a sword, feeling the sword intent released by Elder Ming, and was somewhat surprised. Elder Ming's sword intent has greatly improved. Indeed, it has significantly improved. Even Ling Luo Peak Master nodded. It's starting. Suddenly, Lu Yi's body stiffened, and he felt as if the sky was collapsing onto him. Boom! A thunderclap resounded, and Lu Yi's vision was filled only with dark clouds and the figure beneath them. From within the clouds, a purple heavenly thunder struck down, like a divine sword, slashing towards the diminutive figure below. The terrifying heavenly Tao pressure made many foundation establishment cultivators tremble, unable to even wield their swords, directly falling from the sky and collapsing on the ground. Donggong Mingyue, who had broken the heavenly Tao limitation 3 times, supported Lu Yi's arm and hugged him, her face deathly pale. Even she had some difficulty enduring such pressure from the heavenly Tao. Lu Yi's entire awareness was occupied by the heavenly thunder and Elder Ming below. He didn't even feel the soft touch from Donggong Mingyue. He saw Elder Ming unsheath his sword as a clear and piercing sword cry even overshadowed the thunder. A beam of cold light like moonlight streaked across the sky, directly meeting the heavenly thunder. In an instantaneous silence, the terrifying heavenly thunder was torn apart from the middle and fell to either side, sparing Elder Ming. With one sword, he split the heavenly thunder. This scene shook everyone's hearts, imprinting in the minds of all present cultivators, especially the sword cultivators who clenched their swords tightly, the swords resonating with their turbulent feelings. Lu Yi's mind seemed to be swept across by that moon-like sword, leaving him stunned in place. In his dantian, the 7-colored spiritual energy vortex began to spin rapidly, with Tao sounds echoing in his mind, replaying that sword strike, yet also recalling the times he faced the pressure of the heavenly Tao, breaking its limitation. Facing the grim pressure of the heavenly Tao and still pressing forward, that was a kind of tenacity, an unyielding spirit. It was an audacity to act even when knowing it was impossible, and a decisiveness to never regret even at death. Chapter 166, 101, Even if heaven and earth shatter before my eyes. 3. This is also the mettle required of a sword cultivator. To draw the sword without regret, even if the heavens and earth shatter before my eyes, I alone shall cleave it with one stroke. Lu Yi felt as if he had grasped some understanding, and a Tao sound emerged within his mind. The mysterious Tao patterns on the immortal sword seed faintly flickered, as if calling out to one another in response. Streams of sword intent flowed around his body, flickering indistinctly. Though seemingly weak, they carried an unimaginable, unyielding immortal will. By his side, both the Ling Luo Peak Master and Liu Ningxuang froze, turning their heads to look at Lu Yi with the same numb expression on their faces. Ling Luo Peak Master rubbed her hair, looking at Lu Yi with a speechless expression, and muttered to herself, "No way, for real. I just casually mentioned it. Could this kid actually have had an enlightenment? What's with this sword intent?" Next to her, the cool beauty Liu Ningxuang, her face carrying a look of shock, looked at Lu Yi in disbelief and said, "Junior brother, truly an unimaginable genius." Donggong Mingyue, who was holding onto Lu Yi due to her weakness, felt somewhat uncomfortable from the sword intent emanating through his body, yet she herself became weak, nearly on the verge of tears. "Senior sister, help me, I'm soft." Liu Ningxuang came back to her senses, circulated her spiritual energy, supported Donggong Mingyue, and pulled her away from Lu Yi's side. Then the three of them watched with complex expressions as Lu Yi's aura became increasingly formidable. The cultivators nearby naturally noticed as well, and turned their heads to look over. Upon seeing Lu Yi, the expressions of many cultivators changed from confusion to a sort of blankness, followed by a stiff expression, full of disbelief and very complex. "No way, don't tell me it's what I'm thinking," Zai Tianming, surrounded by disciples from the Ling Luo Peak, said with a numb expression on his face. "If it's junior brother Lu, it's probably really what you're thinking," Nanggong Moyu said, equally numb with a lifeless look on his face. "Is junior brother Lu Yi for real? Just from watching someone else crossing the tribulation, he had some kind of enlightenment again. You can't just play like this. Let me have an enlightenment too. I think my talent is not bad either. We're all ordinary people. Can we not dream that dream, okay?" In the midst of obscurity, Lu Yi contemplated that sword light, continuously deducing and perfecting, until it seemed he had reached some sort of bottleneck. He naturally used the last chance for sudden enlightenment that he had left. Since experiencing heavenly thunder enlightenment and true dragon blood enlightenment, Lu Yi always withdrew one chance of sudden enlightenment for emergency use. Now the time to employ it had arrived. In an instant of enlightenment, Lu Yi's thoughts became crystal clear. His understanding of the sword Tao, the Tao, and the heavens and earth all seemed to undergo a profound transformation. He deduced and perfected once more, the sword intent around his body growing increasingly intense. Suddenly, a golden sword light soared into the sky, like a pillar standing tall between heaven and earth, stirring under its sword intent, alarming all the white cloud sect cultivators. Even Wu Qingfeng and the other protectors who were far away couldn't help but look over. Seeing the ever-strengthening sword intent around Lu Yi, Wu Qingfeng and the divinity transformation cultivators were stunned. "What's happening over there? Is that the kiddo Lu Yi? What's up with him now?" "Looking at it, it seems like he's had another sudden enlightenment," Elder Xuan said, somewhat uncertain. The other divinity transformation supreme elders. Everyone was a bit dumbfounded. Last time this kid had a sudden enlightenment, wasn't it just a few years ago? He had an enlightenment during his Qi cultivation thunder tribulation and realized a very powerful body refining technique. It's only been a few years. This kid isn't even a golden core yet, and he's already had 2 enlightenments. Is there no justice in this world? What's even more outrageous is that this kid's enlightenment this time was just from seeing Elder Ming cleave the heavenly thunder with one sword. So what's there to have an enlightenment about? The many divinity transformation cultivators communicated with their primordial spirits, with Wu Qingfeng questioning, "Did you all comprehend something?" "I comprehended Jack Ski 81 Hen," Elder Qi Ling grumbled. "Qi Ling, old fellow, your state of mind seems to have cracked," another spoke teasingly. I didn't comprehend anything. How about you?" "Hee hee. Continue your adventure at Empire." "Hee hee." Just then a loud laugh erupted. "Ha ha ha, thrilling. How thrilling. With a junior like Kiddo Lu, the sword Tao will surely shine eternally and never dim. Today this old man will also release a youthful fervor, challenging the heavenly tribulation with my sword. Will you stand against my stroke? Silver-white sword light as pure as the moon, similarly soared into the sky around him, as if answering Lu Yi's sword light, rising and falling in alternate succession, growing ever stronger. This Wu Qingfeng and the other divinity transformation cultivators hesitated, their faces shifting. This old man's sword intent has gotten stronger. Elder Ming has an impeccable sword heart. His innate talent for cultivation was mediocre at best. Anyone else with his gift might have struggled to even break through to foundation establishment. Yet, relying on his sword Tao cultivation, he pushed himself to the divinity transformation realm, and from then on, made no further progress, his sword heart obscured with dust. Now, after breaking and reforming, with his sword heart cleansed of its dust, and spurred by the provocation of that youngster Lu Yi, it's likely he will elevate his sword Tao to an unimaginable realm. This old kid, he's finally tasted sweetness after the bitterness. It's really vexing. Elder Qi Ling cursed under his breath. Ha ha ha, too bad we don't have that kind of luck. Elder Xuan shook his head with a chuckle. As Elder Ming's sword intent surged, he let out a clear shout and with profound mystery slashed his sword, cleaving the thunderclouds. The sword light like the moon seemed to bathe the world in silver white, exceedingly cold and distant. Boom! The thunderclouds seemed enraged. Bulky thunderbolts surged violently, condensing into a colossal thunderbolt resembling a mountain, confronting the streak of sword light. The sword light and heavenly thunder collided, the sword light relentlessly slicing through the thunder, carrying an indomitable will. Its supreme sharpness carved its way through the thunder pillar, tearing the clouds asunder. For a moment the thundercloud was split in two, revealing a clear sky beyond. The onlookers, facing the slowly dissipating thundercloud, were at a loss for words. After millennia of obscurity, Elder Ming grasped his sword and broke through to the cave void realm. His stroke that split the thundercloud shook everyone to the core, an impact beyond imagination. The silver sword light gradually faded, and just then, with a clanging sound, a sword intent imbued with strange Tao patterns spread out, and as the crowd turned, they saw that increasingly potent golden sword intent. The expressions on their faces became even more complicated. Here was someone even more preposterous, more awe-inspiring. Chapter 167, 102, Cave Void Realm Protector. Just after the tribulation, Elder Ming, along with Wu Qingfeng and other divinity transformation realm supreme elders and peak masters, all drew closer to Lu Yi. At this moment the lazy voice of the Ling Luo peak master sounded, "Don't get too close, don't disturb him." The crowd nodded slightly, stopping not far from Lu Yi, and everyone quietly watched him, their eyes flickering with complex expressions. Wu Qingfeng looked at Elder Ming beside him and asked, "Elder Ming, what do you think?" After the tribulation, the wrinkles on Elder Ming's face had reduced significantly, and his white hair remained as usual, but his aura was not as gloomy as before. His aura was restrained, much like that of an ordinary old man, completely concealing the power he had displayed previously when he had split the heavenly thunder with one sword. Elder Ming, looking at the sword intent surrounding Lu Yi, said softly in admiration, "Kiddo Lu is a heaven-sent genius in the sword Tao. This sword intent is profoundly mysterious, and also mixed with quite a few other conceptions. Even I cannot fully understand it. A sword skill refined from such a profound conception would probably be earth-shattering." Upon hearing this, many cultivators, including Wu Qingfeng and other divinity transformation cultivators, were continuously amazed. Indeed, he is an immortal seed of our White Cloud sect, merely at the foundation establishment realm, yet he can comprehend such sword skills, truly terrifying. This sword skill, even though not yet fully formed, already makes my heart tremble. If it were fully formed, it would probably be extremely terrifying. As people conversed, Lu Yi's comprehension gradually neared its conclusion. His mind was filled with Tao patterns, including the immortal Tao pattern from the immortal sword seed, the exotic patterns derived from the heavenly thunder, and the sword patterns condensed from the sword intent. All these Tao patterns interwove and eventually merged into one, forming a single sword skill. This sword skill was of the sort that even if the heavens and earth were collapsing before one's eyes, one would still dare to draw the sword and strike. It was a reflection of the sword holder's courage, tenacity, and indomitable spirit. As the sword skill took shape, the sword intent around Lu Yi slowly converged. Lu Yi opened his eyes and saw the crowd surrounding him, even noticing Elder Ming, who appeared much younger, and he was momentarily stunned. The heavenly tribulation was over. At this moment the voice of Ling Luo Peak Master sounded, "Kiddo, how do you feel?" Recollecting himself, Lu Yi then smiled and said, "Disciple feels very good. Having witnessed Elder Ming's tribulation, I have deeply comprehended and created a sword skill." Elder Ming stroked his beard and let out a big laugh. "Ha ha ha, my tribulation led to your epiphany, truly. You really deserve to be a prodigy blessed with the presence of an ancient demon." Lu Yi humbly smiled. "Elder Ming, you flatter me. Congratulations on your breakthrough to the cave void realm." Upon hearing this, Elder Ming nodded slightly, also revealing a trace of a smile. Having been mired in the divinity transformation realm for thousands of years, a breakthrough was indeed a joyous occasion for him. Then Elder Ming, looking at Lu Yi, remarked, "This is all thanks to you, kiddo. Without you, I might not have made the breakthrough." Hearing this, everyone else was taken aback. Even the Ling Luo Peak Master and Liu Ningxuang were bewildered and looked at Lu Yi with astonishment. The Ling Luo Peak Master eyed Lu Yi suspiciously. "Say, kiddo, what exactly did you do?" Lu Yi, somewhat embarrassed, smiled shyly. "I simply gave Elder Ming a little help." Everyone inside was surprised. A little help? Such a small help couldn't possibly have allowed a powerful sword cultivator, long stuck in the divinity transformation realm, to advance to the cave void realm. What Elder Ming said next shocked everyone even more. He turned to Lu Yi and said, "Kiddo, you have exceptional talent and the bearing of an immortal, but your current strength is still too weak. As an old man, I had already thought before my breakthrough that if I succeeded in advancing to the cave void realm, I would protect you for 1,000 years until your strength entirely surpasses mine." At those words, the sky went silent. Whether it was Wu Qingfeng and the others, or the Ling Luo Peak Master, even Liu Ningxuang, Donggong Ming Yue, and the other disciples, they all looked at Elder Ming in disbelief. Who was Elder Ming? Having advanced to the cave void realm and mastered powerful sword intent, he was definitely considered a formidable figure even within the cave void realm. Such a great cultivator, willing to be a protector for Lu Yi. Everyone was profoundly shaken. Wu Qingfeng hesitated and then said, "Elder Ming, you are." Elder Ming waved his hand. "I have made up my mind. Of course, when Lu Yi is within the sect, Ling Luo will take care of him. There wouldn't be any issues. I will follow him when he leaves the sect. As for the book storage pavilion, let Qian guard it." Seeing Elder Ming's firm resolve, Wu Qingfeng found it hard to say more and could only nod his head, but his expression when looking at Lu Yi became even more curious. What sort of help had Lu Yi provided to Elder Ming that made the latter decide to protect him? Not just Wu Qingfeng, everyone else was extremely curious as well. After Elder Ming's tribulation, everyone dispersed, and Lu Yi followed the Ling Luo Peak Master, Liu Ningxuang and Donggong Ming Yue, as they flew toward Ling Luo Peak. Donggong Ming Yue was also very curious, blinking her large eyes which sparkled like those of a sprite, and asked, "Yeah, senior brother, Elder Ming is even willing to protect you. You must have quite the influence." Liu Ningxuang also looked at Lu Yi, and while she didn't speak, her curiosity was just as immense. Chapter 168, 102, Protector of the Cave Void Realm 2. Lu Yi saw the curiosity in the expressions of the three and laughed lightly as he spoke. "I gave Elder Ming 1,000 drops of centennial spirit marrow." Upon hearing this, the three fell silent for a moment, and the Ling Luo Peak Master scratched his head in surprise. "You lad actually have so much centennial spirit marrow?" Lu Yi smiled and said, "I obtained it from the East Forest ruins before." "No wonder. Ordinarily, Elder Ming should have been unable to break through, and I was somewhat puzzled why Elder Ming could achieve it. With 1,000 drops of centennial spirit marrow, with Elder Ming's sword intent cultivation, it's normal for him to break through." Ling Luo Peak Master couldn't help but sigh in amazement. Lu Yi smiled and said, "It's also because Elder Ming himself is powerful that he could break through." The four of them talked as they returned to Ling Luo Peak. Lu Yi returned to his own cave mansion, and after getting to the cultivation room, couldn't wait to receive his reward. The profound sword intent and the conception of thunder intertwined in Lu Yi's mind, rapidly being absorbed by him. During Elder Ming's heavenly tribulation, his sword intent was pulled by Elder Ming, and coupled with a sudden enlightenment, it had already improved to about 70%. With the addition of this half a step, Lu Yi's sword intent directly increased to 75%, truly achieving great success sword intent, but it was still a certain distance away from complete perfection. As for the thunder intent realm, although watching the heavenly tribulation had offered some improvement, it was not as significant as with the sword intent. Adding this half step, it merely reached 70%, slightly less than the sword intent. However, on the whole, the improvement was still substantial. Afterwards, Lu Yi continued to consolidate his understanding of that one sword form. It was a swordsmanship technique he had created on his own. Currently, there was only one form, but Lu Yi understood that in the future there would be a second and a third form. Even if it was just this one form, it was no less powerful than the heavenly thunder true dragon technique that Lu Yi had comprehended from the true dragon scale's innate patterns, capable of reaching the divinity transformation realm. Although it might have some flaws and limitations, as Lu Yi's own sword Dao cultivation improved, it could be continuously refined. After all, this was a sword Tao skill created by Lu Yi himself, most suitable for him, and its potential could be described as limitless. Lu Yi named this swordsmanship technique the Tribulation Sword Form, a sword style inspired by observing the heavenly tribulation, yet capable of withstanding countless tribulations without destruction. A month later, Lu Yi received a message from Donggong Mingyue, saying that the three-sects exchange meeting would soon be held at the 10,000 Flowers sect, and they were inviting the prodigies of the White Cloud sect to participate in the exchange. Lu Yi, Donggong Mingyue, and even Liu Ningxuang would be going, as all three were considered prodigies. Liu Ningxuang was even considered a heavenly pride girl, surpassing the realm of Qingzhou. Apart from them, several senior brothers and sisters from Ling Luo Peak, as well as those from other peaks, were also going together. On the day of departure, Lu Yi found that nearly 100 disciples were going, including Jiang Fan, Bai Yulong, and Tai Man. In addition to the disciples, there were several nascent soul realm elders, and a divinity transformation realm supreme elder leading the group. The divinity transformation realm supreme elder was a burly, bald elder named Qi Ling, whom Lu Yi had seen during Elder Ming's heavenly tribulation, a man with a hot temper. Of course, Elder Ming was also going, having promised to protect Lu Yi, and Lu Yi did not refuse. After all, with a cave void sword cultivator accompanying him, his safety was greatly increased, and he had no worries about his security. As Lu Yi expected, after Elder Ming broke through to the cave void realm, the task rewards he got from discussing Sword Dao with Elder Ming increased considerably, and every completion of a task brought more sword intent enlightenment than before. Furthermore, with Elder Ming nearby, Lu Yi could discuss Sword Dao with Elder Ming whenever he had free time, so the speed of his sword intent improvement was simply incomparable to before. The group traveled aboard the Ningguang ancient ship, soaring through the sky towards the 10,000 Flowers sect territory. It was Donggong Mingyue's first time on the Ningguang ancient ship, and she ran about curiously, eventually picking adjoining rooms to settle down in with Lu Yi and Liu Ningxuang. The territory of the 10,000 Flowers sect was adjacent to that of the White Cloud sect, but the distance was still quite vast, requiring 4 days of flight to reach the 10,000 Flowers sect. The area where the 10,000 Flowers sect was located was a mountain range of stunning beauty, with towering peaks piercing the clouds and white mist entwining, resembling an immortal realm. The sect of the 10,000 Flowers sect was situated in a vast valley within the mountains. From the Ningguang ancient ship above, one could see the valley filled with splendid blossoms, and even from the sky, the rich fragrance was detectable. Between the valleys and the peaks, there were numerous female cultivators in colorful skirts, flying past on their swords, leaving many of the male cultivators from the White Cloud sect entranced. Lu Yi, seeing a pure-looking female cultivator fly by, felt a peculiar gaze coming from the side. Turning his head to look, he saw Donggong Mingyue looking at him with wide eyes. Lu Yi asked with some confusion, "Junior sister, what's the matter?" "HMPH, what's so great about these female cultivators from the 10,000 Flowers sect? Your soul seemed almost hooked away by them," Donggong Mingyue pouted. After thinking for a moment, Lu Yi earnestly looked at Donggong Mingyue, causing her face to flush red. "Senior brother, why are you staring at me like that?" Lu Yi smiled and said, "I have taken a look, and indeed the immortals from the 10,000 Flowers sect are not as pretty as my junior sister." Donggong Mingyue's face turned even redder, but her eyes curved up in a smile, and she stood proudly with her hands on her hips, saying, "I am naturally a great beauty." Standing by, Liu Ningxuang glanced at Lu Yi and smiled faintly. Junior brother, are you looking to find a Taoist couple in the flower sect? I've heard that many female cultivators of the 10,000 flower sect possess decent dual cultivation methods, making them good choices for Taoist couples. Chapter 169, 102, Cave Void Realm Protector 3. No, if possible, I would like you to be my Taoist couple and cultivate together. Lu Yi mumbled a complaint in his heart before looking at Liu Ningxuang with a smile and saying, Elder sister hasn't even found a Taoist couple yet, so how did it come to junior brother here? Liu Ningxuang's faint smile stiffened, and then she glanced at Lu Yi and said no more. While the three were talking, a group of 10,000 Flowers sect practitioners flew over towards the ancient ship. The leader was a beautiful matron with dignified features, her black hair coiled up, dressed in plain white palace attire with a teardrop mole at the corner of her eye. Accompanied by Xianxia and several middle-aged and elderly female cultivators by the side of the matron, there were also some delicate young girls, likely practitioners from the 10,000 Flower sect. As everyone arrived onto the Ningguang ancient ship, Qi Ling saluted, Sect leader Hua, long time no see. Lu Yi glanced at the matron, somewhat surprised, realizing that she was the sect leader of the 10,000 Flower sect. Sect leader Hua nodded slightly, giving a gentle smile. Fellow Taoist Qi Ling, it has indeed been hundreds of years since we last met, hasn't it? Her gaze swept over the crowd, and then settled on Lu Yi, Liu Ningxuang, and Elder Ming, finally focusing on Lu Yi. With a gentle smile, she said, So this is Lu Yi from the White Cloud sect, truly a distinguished young man. Lu Yi saluted, I pay my respects to sect leader Hua. Very good, very good. Such a fine child, you and Yunzai are good friends, just call me Granny Hua in the future, sect leader Hua said, displaying great affability and warmth in her words. Lu Yi was somewhat overwhelmed by the honor. He glanced at Yunzai by his side, then smilingly said, Greetings to Granny Hua. Sect leader Hua nodded and then turned to Elder Ming, saying, I had heard some time ago that Elder Nan Liuming, who had sealed his sword for hundreds of years, made an unbelievable advancement to the cave void realm. Seeing him today, Elder Ming's presence is profound, truly admirable. Elder Ming chuckled and nodded. Sect leader Hua's power also deepens day by day. Perhaps the future may also permit a breakthrough to the cave void realm for you. Sect leader Hua chuckled and shook her head. My potential only goes so far. The future must depend on the next generation. Young Miss Liu Ningxuang is also here. Her talents will surely lead her to achieve the cave void, and perhaps even unification or Mahayana. The White Cloud sect really has good fortune. Liu Ningxuang bowed slightly to sect leader Hua, her face serene yet respectful, and said, I pay my respects to sect leader Hua. Elder Ming laughed. The young friend Yunzai from your 10,000 Flowers sect also possesses exceptional talents, and will surely take the 10,000 Flowers sect to greater heights in the future. Ha ha ha, may Elder Ming's auspicious words come true. Please, come, I will take our esteemed guests from the White Cloud sect to your quarters, said sect leader Hua as she led the way. After descending from the Ningguang ancient ship, everyone followed sect leader Hua into the 10,000 Flowers sect headquarters. Following behind sect leader Hua, a group of charming 10,000 Flowers sect practitioners frequently glanced over at the people from the White Cloud sect. Many female cultivators occasionally stole glances at Lu Yi, then lowered their heads to whisper among themselves, giggling endlessly, with occasional shy sounds emerging. Lu Yi was almost embarrassed by their stares, while Bai Yulong next to him had eyes glowing green, full of envy as he sighed. Alas, the practitioners from the 10,000 Flowers sect only have eyes for junior brother Lu. The other male cultivators around were similarly helpless. Yunzai approached Lu Yi smiling. Fellow Taoist Lu Yi, it's been a long time, how have you been recently? Instantly Donggong Mingyue wrapped her arm around Lu Yi's, watching Yunzai warily. What are you doing here? Yunzai looked seriously at Donggong Mingyue and said, I haven't seen fellow Taoist Lu Yi for a long time, and I've missed him, so I came to chat. Upon hearing this, Donggong Mingyue bristled and retorted, Who allowed you to miss my elder brother? Bai Yulong's eyes turned even greener, filled with melancholy. Even the other fellows turned to look at Lu Yi, their expressions complex. Lu Yi, however, was calm, knowing Yunzai's nature well. This missing was probably just a friendly kind of missing, with no other implication. Donggong Mingyue was puzzled. Confronted with the earnest expression of Yunzai, she was somewhat exasperated. Even Liu Ningxuang glanced at the composed Yunzai, a hint of surprise and curiosity flashing across her cool face. Then she looked towards Lu Yi and smiled faintly, transmitting. This fellow Taoist Yunzai is quite interesting. Junior brother's romantic luck isn't bad. Lu Yi's lips twitched, looking at Liu Ningxuang, and transmitted, elder sister, you're overthinking it. Fellow Taoist Yunzai is pure-hearted, she just regards me as a good friend, that's all. Liu Ningxuang chuckled softly, but did not reply. As the group talked, they soon arrived at a series of palaces deep in the valley of the 10,000 Flowers sect, their place of stay for the White Cloud sect. After leading them there, sect leader Hua left, accompanied by Qi Ling and some nascent soul elders, leaving some 10,000 Flowers sect disciples and White Cloud sect cultivators to interact. Under Yunzai's guidance, Lu Yi found a room for himself, after which Yunzai smiled. Our 10,000 Flowers sect's purple luo flower sea is wonderfully beautiful, fellow Taoist Lu Yi. Why don't you join me for a visit? Before Lu Yi could respond, Donggong Mingyue called out, I want to go too. Yunzai tilted her head, looking confused. Fellow Taoist Donggong, it seems like you dislike me. Why do you want to go? Donggong Mingyue's expression darkened, and she glared at Yunzai, huffing, I'm going with my elder brother. Seeing this, Yunzai nodded, all right then. Seeing that Donggong Mingyue had agreed, Lu Yi also nodded, then let's go. Actually, he had been thinking of sparring with Yunzai, but on second thought, sparring right after arriving seemed too exhausting. Since they were going to be here for a while, there was no rush. The scenery of the 10,000 Flowers sect was beautiful, a walk would be nice. Meanwhile, he muttered to himself, I will go with Yunzai to visit the purple luo flower sea. Lines of text appeared on a panel. Lu Yi glanced at it, then his expression showed surprise, as the rewards were quite generous.